It was good, and it was, we had the days off. We had time off. So there's a lot, and I mean a lot, to catch up on. I think, obviously, with this show, we always start with the obvious, which is that, the central theme is Florida State. And right now, oddly, I would just tell you that despite names being bantied about, of which the biggest is Lagway at quarterback, obviously, not a lot's happened. Like, if we're going to just sum it up, there are people coming and going. They're on visits. They're considering. We're considering. There's a lot of considering, but not a whole lot of action just yet. You got your corner, who's somewhat local. People remember him. I believe he was playing in Wakulla, if I remember, when he played last in the area. And then, now he makes his way in. So you got a corner. You guys know me. I'm a broken record when it comes to certain things. One of those things is offensive and defensive line production, and how many high quality of those kinds of players can you bring in? And quarterback matters, obviously. Quarterback's sexy. People get excited about quarterback. I get it. I understand it completely. But, again, I want to harp on over and over and over again, offensive and defensive line. Are you going to find somebody who can rush the passer? Are you going to be able to block and give any quarterback that you might bring in a chance to succeed? Look at how physical the teams that remain are in the college football playoff. Look at how Indiana dominates a football game against Alabama, and they only throw it 16 times. People can talk about the Heisman-winning quarterback all they want. He threw it 16 times. They only completed 14 passes, and they bludgeoned Alabama. And they bludgeoned Alabama because their offensive line manhandled Alabama's defensive line, and they dominated various ways up front against Alabama's offensive line. Interestingly enough, that there was some, I guess you could say, comparisons. Not completely, obviously. Indiana did it better than we did, but we were physically superior to Alabama to start the year, too. Line of scrimmage was really a big deal there. It always is. And so, for me to take a lot of things seriously, I need to see the offensive and defensive line production that we're trying to bring in. Who is it? And quarterback's going to matter, and it's a sexy name, and you're going to pay attention to it no matter who it is. Anybody you bring in on a visit, certainly, whether it's Lakewood High School's own Calandria from UNLV, or if it's DJ Lagway, or anybody else for that matter. People are going to gravitate towards that. And I get it. But again, to me, you got to find a way to compete in the trenches. Week to week, it gives you a chance. Right now, what we're aspiring to do isn't necessarily the same thing as you see these playoff teams do. You got to walk before you can run type thing. And for me, it's about the line of scrimmage. And so far, it's kind of quiet there. There's not a lot that makes you kind of perk up just yet. Big picture stuff, we'll get more into that. They do have a 3 o'clock press conference today. So Norvell is going to be at that. Garrett will be at that. I don't know. I didn't look to see any of the other hires going to be there.
Well, it's Alford, Garrett, and Norvell in whatever order. So the 3 of them. And it's 3:15, just to be precise. Okay. So it won't be at the top of the hour, just a little bit after.
Yeah. So, by the way, I'm most interested, obviously, in hearing what Garrett has to say. Yeah, there are other aspects of it. I don't know. There's not a lot I need to hear Norvell say. And then as far as Alfred goes, I imagine he's going to introduce that situation and kind of talk about what went into the decision-making with the front office changes and maybe where they think it's going. That's fine. You take a cursory glance and overview, and then you hand it over to Garrett, who's kind of the star of today's press conference. I think a lot of people thought that what they were getting today when the initial press conference was announced for noon was perhaps a major addition in the way of a quarterback, followed by that stuff. But I don't think that was ever going to be the case at all. I think it was always going to be the introduction of Garrett.
Yeah, 100%. It was just going to be about these 3 guys. If anything else happened, it would have been unexpected and a bonus, because when Garrett was officially announced by Florida State as the general manager, that's when this press conference was also announced. So it wasn't like Saturday afternoon or Sunday, Florida State said, hey, everybody pay attention. Here comes a pressure. That happened last week. So now the change happened early this morning. I forget if it was like 7 a.m. hour or whatever. But noon was the original time. Now 3:15 that they're going to speak.
Yeah, they sent out an email early this morning. We were on the phone together. I was walking my dog, and then I said, hey, look at that. They changed the time of the press conference. So that's where we're at. I don't want to put a damper on anybody's enthusiasm. Right now, there's just not a lot to report. I think that the things that they're talking about in Florida State circles, most of my friends that have reached out and texted, and I'm sure, what's on the boards. I haven't checked the boards this morning, but I got to guess that it is all about whether or not Florida State would bring in DJ Lagway. Then he did come. He did visit, was here. We know that. And then the thought was, would he leave or would Florida State announce that he was their next starting quarterback? The whole thing had me looking sideways and somewhat jaded. I don't understand it, honestly. I don't know why.
What, on the foundational level?
Yeah. Why would you bring in DJ Lagway? Riddled with injury, the dual threat quarterback that he was coming out of high school, and he hasn't existed since he was battered and bruised by injury. Most of what makes him special is arm talent. I agree with that. He made a throw against us that was an NFL throw. He didn't have to make many, but he made one in that game where it's far side of the field that away from the press box. It's a dime. It's just a gorgeous throw. And I remember going, well, that's still in there. He still got a little bit of that. He threw a dime there, but it was so infrequent. If you watched a lot of Florida this year, you have the benefit, if you think about this, of one of the better running backs in the SEC, as we found out up close and personal, and a decent, not great, but a decent offensive line. You have weapons, and yet every meaningful statistic, at least in terms of the analytics, non-traditional numbers, he went backwards. He was getting worse every week. He almost got benched.
The only way you could justify it is to fall into the trap that we fell into last year, which is you're going to suffer an injury at some point. But based on history and based on what this offense does, that was the Tommy concern. Like, man, are you planning for an injury? Because one is likely to happen. It's that, remember, in the preseason, he wasn't available to practice, and the way that Napier was speaking about his availability was clouded at best. Did he ever get off on the right foot this past season?
No, he did not.
And what spiral did that cause that maybe an off season of health could afford him?
It created bad habits. You began to see that. That was well documented and talked about. I believe there were even references from he or his coach Napier about that. You saw it. You began to see a shell of the man that gave you a glimmer of hope. If you were a Florida fan when Lagway was brought in, you were getting one of the biggest stars in the recruiting cycle at quarterback. And he immediately made throws that were NFL throws. And these were the kinds of throws that when I saw him, I went, damn it, this is a problem. We're going to have issues. This kid's got a big arm, like a Big Ben arm. He had a cannon. And there were moments where he drove the ball down the field in a way that you don't see a lot of quarterbacks do. Professional throws. And he wasn't a check down guy. He became a check down guy, partly because I think he was protecting himself from all the injuries. And you're right, he didn't have an off season. And so that set the tone for an awful year. A year, like I said, in which he almost got benched. I thought mentally and physically he showed signs of being completely broken. I guess you want to roll the dice on what all that upside was when he came out of high school before all the injuries and all of that, then you could, I suppose. Doesn't seem to make sense in a Gus Malzahn offense. So as a guy who's dealt with lower body injuries as well as the shoulder, you're going to then ask him to run a lot? He's going to come in and run a lot? Now, he's a big, strong guy, unlike Tommy, who's tiny, who we properly guessed would get hurt. But I don't know that he runs anywhere close to the way he used to run. And if you're not going to run him, I don't really see why. We don't know the exact number, but I got to believe the cost of that quarterback that we're talking about is pretty high. You're going to bring him in to be a pocket drop back passer?
I don't think you are. I think you're coming in and he's agreeing to run. I think that has to be a precondition of any agreement.
This is where college is so different than the NFL. In the NFL, it's a meat market. They'd put him through the ringer. We doing that? We got all the doctors out there poking and prodding. We got him out there running 40s. We put him through conditioning drills when he's here. We're seeing what lateral movement. How's that going?
And there's no doubt that the market would be in the millions, plural, for this particular player. I know that the Calandria market was, and the Colton Joseph market, for that matter, was thought to be in the 2s or 3s, depending upon leverage and all that kind of stuff.
Well, think about the Calandria market for a second. Now, as a fellow Lakewood High School alum, it is going to be very hard for me to say anything negative about my alma mater.
Okay.
And the school and his immense talent, Tom. But
just for the record, I could say negative things about Riley Cooper, so you can muscle up if you need to.
Well, you had really good reason for the Riley Cooper situation.
Yeah. Could have predicted that one.
Yeah, you could have. But the thing is, I'm not paying $2 million for Clay. And also,
I think that's light.
No. See, we keep going back to this. There is a chicken or the egg, and there's an awful lot of debate and discussion about all of this, even amongst us on the staff. Okay? Obviously, Corey and I have had this discussion on the air where he thinks if you just get a name quarterback, all's going to be well. I've pointed out that's not the case. You have to have other things. You have to have other things going for you beyond a name quarterback. I get that a quarterback, and one that is, I guess, currying favor with the people that you're seeking to bring in the transfer portal, goes a long way in influencing their decision. I get that a quarterback can do that, can influence, can create a buzz of sorts. But, man, when we artificially inflate the value of a mid-tier portal quarterback to the tune of $2, $3, $4 million, now the elite ones are said to get maybe $5 million. We do have to understand the caliber and the differences of those quarterbacks. You do have to say to yourself, all right, is this Cam Ward, who goes on to, become the first pick in the draft and is clearly a difference maker, changes who you are? Or is this a functional quarterback that played at a pretty high level in a lower tier conference, which is what Calandria did at UNLV, and he did it under Dan Mullen, who has been a far cry superior evaluator and developer of quarterback and offensive football than Mike Norvell or anybody else on this staff.
Yeah, that's all fair. I think what you have to look at, though, is the market reality. Now that you have this pool of rev share in addition to NIL, now your average guy just got a lot more expensive. Okay. And so you have to come to grips with that. Kind of like how on the market at some point, a pitcher with a 3.90 ERA is worth $20 million a year, and you're going, how is that possible? It's just that tide is raising all boats for everybody.
Sure, he's a 3-starter in a 5-man rotation. It's a 162-game season. Somebody's got to be a 3-starter in a 5-man rotation. I still see higher value in that than I do in a kid that has been a pretty good player, even a very good player, at a lower level when I have the roster needs that I have. That's the gist of what we're talking about here. If I'm okay everywhere else, I'll overpay at quarterback. That's what Miami's done. Miami's loaded up on talent everywhere, but in particular on the offensive defensive lines. Loaded up. Studs across the front. And then they've dipped into the portal and spent over the moon for their 2 starting quarterbacks each of the last couple of years because they knew what they had in place was the ability to run the ball effectively, stretch the field with speed. They could dominate up front on defense. And, they're always going to be in those games. Now, we've got a head coach that can blow a game or two, but they're going to overcome a lot of that. That was their bet with the loaded up on talent that they have because of the mindset that, to me, Miami built with, all reflective of their head coach. It's so hard on the fly to then go ahead and approach it in the same manner that I think you have to for your long-term success. So I watch us. It's like we're just rat trapping, always rat trapping, because you haven't done that. You can't really do it in the portal. So you're going to have to replace your average to slightly above average offensive line from a year ago with average to slightly above average players again on the offensive line. You're going to constantly be that.
I think the gateway is, should you, and they made the decision on the quarterback, that was their choice. It's not like they inherited Tommy. But if you run back that same offense with a quarterback who's one step better, what's your record? A hell of a lot better than 5-7. It's 8 wins probably. I mean, just being able to hit basic throws. That might be their philosophy here is, all right, let's just get a quarterback who is better, definitely better than the guy we just had, try to recreate everything else in terms of skill positions and trenches.
But a lot of those throws that he misses were born out of the one thing that he could do, which was run around, which sets that up to create the balance. It elevates everything about Gus's offense to have a mobile quarterback. If you bring in a guy, or if you can't run the ball, then you're gonna bring in somebody and you're gonna have to ask him to be a drop back passer in obvious passing situations. And unless you're bringing in an elite player and he's tossing it around to elite wide receivers and he has protection, you're not getting that out of him. See DJ Uyunglele.
Yeah, I don't think this DJ is that DJ, even with his injury history. I don't think he's going to regress to a place where you're going to have him become Stidham. I think he's going to be somewhere between Tommy
Tom.
And Stidham.
I have my doubts. I don't know. I need to see that injury. He became a shell. He was awful to the point where they wanted to bench him. He was awful. And he wasn't running around anywhere. I don't know. That's a hell of a gamble.
This whole thing is. That's the problem. We're already at the table. There's a lot of chips at other places on the table, not in front of us.
I guess where we were headed with this discussion was, do you just save some of the money and really try to win over the offense and defensive linemen that are worth a damn in this portal? That's the bigger question to me, is can you, especially if there was a multi-year guy or two that would allow you to do so?
They're in on a couple of names, one of which is younger at the offensive line position. I think philosophically, you and I would walk down that path if we were trying to cultivate a solution for Florida State in the medium term. But clearly they're not, because they were in on Joseph. He took the first visit to Wisconsin, so they immediately pivoted. They got Calandria on campus here before he went to Tennessee, so this was his first visit. And then they got Lagway right behind him. That is big game hunting in this year's portal market. It's not Levitt. It's not the kid at Cincinnati who now just signed for $5 million.
$5 million.
Texas Tech, which again, that raises the everybody behind him in the pecking order just got richer because of that $5 million deal.
Sorsby went to Texas Tech on that number. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So my guess is that means that, even if you're a medium level quarterback, you just made a couple extra $100,000 because the precedent has been set by A&M and the market's been set by A&M. But Florida State has been extremely aggressive to this point through one weekend. We're only through one weekend. This thing goes another 11 days. But they are not thinking trenches, and then we'll backfill a quarterback. They're thinking quarterback, and we'll figure it out everywhere else.
I don't know what it would cost. It'd be a lot, and we can find out. But, like, if you look at a Jacarius Peak, if you look at another edge player like the Daly kid from Utah, those are I'm naming them because they're considered the top tier prospects in the portal in the trenches. I'm only looking at trenches from that vantage point. I'm sure they're outlandish how much they would cost. But if you're going to spend $3 or $4 million on we'll see at quarterback to be behind an average ass offensive line, and defensively you still haven't gone out and got an edge rusher that can change the game, I don't know what the point is. I would rather save that money, roll with Sperry, and invest in the offensive defensive line.
The one thing I'll say is, in terms of financial stewardship, which is something that we heard about last year, Calandria wanted more than they were willing to part with. So they did say no, at least to this point in that negotiation. He's taking other visits. So that he left campus. But that means, by definition, that there was a meeting, numbers were exchanged, and we said no, not at that number.
Yeah, and I think then if you know ahead of time that Lagway and Calandria are both going to ask for more than you're willing to spend, which is my guess, then you're wasting your effing time bringing them in here. And that time is valuable. You could be spending that time in a more impactful manner if you do a better job of identifying those that are not just using you to get more money from wherever it is they plan to eventually sign. And I'm not so sure that on a regular basis, we're not seeing Florida State now routinely used for exactly that, the kind of leverage to ultimately those kids to get the kind of money that they're looking to get from somebody other than Florida State, whom they never planned on signing with. It's Jeff Cambridge, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
It's where you raise your kids, where friends become family, where every corner has a story worth telling. It's your neighborhood. At ABC 27, we share those stories, bringing you news that connects communities, builds pride, and reminds us we're part of something bigger. We are ABC 27, in your neighborhood.
I'm Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage, and today I want to talk straight with you about debt, especially high interest rate credit cards, and why you shouldn't just sit there and hope the situation will fix itself. Nationwide, the average credit card interest rate is hovering around 21% or higher. The total revolving credit card debt in the U.S. is over $1 trillion and rising. If you're carrying a credit card balance, you're likely paying hundreds of dollars each month just in interest, without even touching your principal. But here's the good news. You can act. What I help folks do is refinance their home or use a home loan strategy to consolidate high interest debt into something with a much lower interest rate and one payment. It puts you in control. So if you own a home or you're buying one, let's talk about turning your house into a tool so you can stop the credit card interest trap and you can stop feeling like you're paying lots without making progress. Go to loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com, and let's get you on a smarter financial path and get out of the high interest grind.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test. Barry knows heating and air conditioning. Keeping you comfortable. Here's what Barry does best.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Barry knows heating and air conditioning. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, T-SparkConstruction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
On the front lines, fighting the insanity of the woke, it's Matt and Brett.
FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Look, I do want to say this just to create a little bit more of clarity in terms of my take on the DJ Lagway situation. I don't, that's not somebody I would have pursued. I don't think it's a very good marriage. Unless you know that he is completely healthy and is going to become the guy that he was coming out of high school and is going to be willing to run. And I don't know if you're getting him somewhat on the cheap, which I doubt, then maybe I would consider it. I suppose it is what would be a classic boom or bust scenario. So, Tom, as you said, when I mentioned this is a boomer bust situation. You have a head coach who's in that situation would be rolling the dice on what was originally, from an arm talent standpoint and a body type, very, very great potential, a high-end potential. He's not looked anything like the guy that is what led to that labeling. So I don't, and when you have so many other needs and what you're fighting to do and to accomplish is to become relevant, to have a winning season, to kind of gain some traction towards being a much better program than you currently are, I think the money could be better spent elsewhere, especially since I think it's a massive risk given his injuries. People get healthy, and when they get healthy, they sometimes once again resemble the player they were. DJ Lagway may go somewhere and that might happen, and people would say, well, see, we could have had him. Perhaps that's potentially true. That's true of really anybody. We understand that. But given the season you just went through and given what your roster looks like, I don't think that's the most efficient use of your time talking to DJ Lagway.
There's no doubt it's a home run cut. That's what that is. You're willing to strike out on 3 pitches, but you're going to swing for the downs. That's what this potential take is to me. We'll see.
And I think the other way to go about it, Tom, would be to just try to raise the floor.
Yeah.
That's the different discussion that we're having here. Let's try to really effort to raise the floor. You're trying to hit a home run, and maybe you run into one. He's healthy. He feels better than he ever has. He's stretching the field, and you're utilizing Deuce in a way that's much greater than he was even this year. Sure. Do we really think that's going to happen? You think you're going to have the kind of quality offensive line that's going to allow you to do that? I don't.
I'm saying, from where I'm sitting right now, if you could recreate last year's offensive line, give me basically the same thing production-wise, and complete down the field 10%, 15% more passes that are open, you have a shot that last year you didn't when Tommy's legs went to hell. And it not only affected his running game, it affected everything about him. He was sped up. He was rushed. I understand that you might have the same problem arise here in the middle of this season with this player, but this dude's ceiling is way higher than what Tommy's was. I think that's also fair to say, too. It's a desperate situation. I don't know that going and getting Joseph or Calandria changes the urgency of this year for Mike. That's the problem, is he's on what we perceive to be last legs. But then also you got to protect yourself and say, I thought 5 wins this past year would have been enough. So who the hell knows? Maybe he does have a couple of years left.
Well, that's actually the other part of the discussion that I find fascinating is I'm kind of looking at it when I look at Florida State. I'm looking at it in a way that is antithetical to the way that Mike may be looking at it. Mike's looking at it in the desperate way a man looks at a situation in which he must win and win big to save a job. I'm looking at it as assuming Mike's not going to. We should have moved on from him. I'm tired of him being here. I don't think he can evaluate quarterbacks. I don't see a reason that he's still here, and therefore I'm trying to protect Florida State long term, and I'm trying to think of how to better build a roster so that 2 and 3 years from now we can be back to mattering. And those are very different things.
Also goes back to one of the questions that'll be asked today in that press conference. When push comes to shove, who's in charge? Who gets to make the call? And right now they're going through it for the first time, and it could be that this cycle is different than the next cycle because the GM didn't get here until late relative to the portal opening. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but that is something that I think we're all begging for clarity on. Is Mike might have one goal, does Garrett have another? If they have different goals in terms of return on investment and stabilization of the program versus going all out for it in 2026, who's in charge? Who gets to make that call?
Yeah, I'd like to be a fly on the wall for the conversations when Garrett was hired. Obviously, Garrett doesn't take this job thinking that if Mike Norvell, fails this year, that he's gone. Of course not. He's going to sign he signs a multi-year deal. He's looking at a long-term front office situation that's not dependent on Mike Norvell's acuity. He knows that
deputy athletic director being in your title does at least project as much, doesn't
right?
it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you're in a weird juxtaposition here, man. I think it's difficult because Mike's got to look at it one way, and I think a new front office guy who's got the long-term success of Florida State in mind might be looking at it a very different way.
And that's the other thing is usually a kid doesn't set foot on campus, doesn't hop on a plane or get in a car to drive here unless in the portal, this is for the portal, that his representation and the school have a basic framework of the number that is going to be discussed at the end of said visit. So when you're debating is this number something that we can work with? Does the buck stop with Mike? Does it stop with Garrett? And the reporting from yesterday, Matt put it on the boards. They're out there, the family, the reps, and Florida State are out there at the football-only facility. Calandria's reps go inside. Garrett goes inside. They're gone for 15, 20 minutes, maybe more. Okay. You're talking about, are you our quarterback? Brass tacks. Let's put the cards on the table and discuss. Is that John's call? Is that Mike's call? When push comes to shove in that room and that decision is being made about we're not going to budge on this number. Oh, the hell we aren't going to budge on this number. This is our quarterback. Those important conversations that can take 2 minutes in real time but can affect 10 months that come after it. Who makes those calls? We're living through it right now. We're getting information on it right now. It's interesting.
If you're Mike Norvell, unless you've been told, I think their goal ultimately is to not to have to fire Mike Norvell. So clearly. So
they are steadfast.
They're steadfast
in achieving said goal.
Yes. So, okay, they didn't want to fire him, right? And they still don't want to fire him. It's still going to be a ton of money if they have to fire him after this year. They don't want to do that. So he needs to win enough games where they don't have to do that. We think this past year should have been enough to do that. I thought the year 2 years ago was enough to do that. They disagree. Okay, fine. This can't last in perpetuity. The suck fest can't go on forever. So I wonder if you're Mike in that situation and you're the administration in that situation, you're like, hey, look, is there a guy that guarantees your sorry ass can win 7 games? Like, do I need to go out and get Sam Levitt and pay him? Should we go spend $10 million on Cam Coleman and Sam Levitt? And
I don't know. Texas would drop 11 on Coleman.
I'm just saying, like go crazy for 2 elite players.
You think Garrett walked into Mike's office, closed the door behind him, sat down in the chair, and looked him in the eyes, leaned forward? The suckfest cannot go on forever.
It cannot. Like, could you make the argument, because you've got the rev share money no matter what, so everybody's got 20 point whatever or 21 point whatever. Could you make the argument that you would walk through the door and say, I want John Henry Daly, the edge from Utah, who's a grown-ass man. Okay, I want to bring him in. I want Sam Levitt, and I want, I don't know, name me the best offensive lineman in the portal, the kid from NC State or whatever. Like,
or maybe one of the Bama kids.
The Jacarius Peak. I got three guys. I'm spending all of it on those three. We got an edge rusher, we've got an offensive tackle, and a quarterback. Now, develop somebody, Mike. I mean, geez, we got a roster full of kids over here.
Now, I didn't come in here empty-handed. I brought you a couple of gifts. These are T-shirts. There you go. Your size medium, right?
Yeah.
There you go. It's Suckfest 2024. Tri-blend, very comfortable. Suckfest 2025. There you go. Another medium.
Could you?
Those are collector's items, Mike. We aren't making another shirt after this season.
So, because short of doing something like that, then I think you got to spread the wealth and upgrade your roster and raise the floor and get this thing healthier for the next couple of years for the next head coach that comes in to coach it. If I'm a GM.
You brought up Coleman's name. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about what it is that the bidding war is for his services. I can't wait to hear. We do have some people with ears to the ground out that way.
You think a 6'4", 200-pound wide receiver with that kind of skill set's going to make a lot of money?
I think he's fetching maybe close to 2. I think it might be between 1 and 2. Yeah. Well, it will be between 1 and 2, but I can't wait because that's a true bidding war. That is.
Yeah, he's a badass.
That is a modern era bidding war for a non-quarterback.
So Matt Lacerra has been on the ground at the facility. He's going to join us next. We'll talk a little bit about, as he sees it, what's happening here. And I just kind of want a better idea, a clearer picture of what we're in the age of talking about roster building and philosophy and allocation. And yet we're at a crossroads between the coach and then what's happening in the front office. They've got to try to make it work, and they're trying to make it work and navigate this process. But to me, it would almost be to some extent at odds with what that long-term goal is. Now, they share the one thing, which is that they work for Florida State. I guess they share two things. They work for Florida State, and number two, I think the administration obviously would like to see Mike have the kind of success that allows him to keep him around for another couple of years on this contract. So how best to put together this roster for the long-term success of the program while also trying to prop Mike up a little bit to keep him around for another 2 years and seriously cut into the cost of firing him. It's a weird,
I'm looking at this menu of lunch options.
Hey, you don't like it.
And I don't really like anything that's on the menu.
Yeah, nothing's appealing to me. I'll have a drink.
Yeah, there's that one cafe in town that we've been to a couple times. Mm-hmm. Like, man, every time I come here, there's 15 options. I don't know. Can I get some chicken fingers or something?
No, we're in the middle of a situation where you're like, I'll take a double. We'll just do a vodka tonic.
Maybe 4 fingers of scotch. No ice.
This is not what I hope for at lunch. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Hayhara Police Department announced that they will host their first citizen firearm safety class. Skills like safe handling, legal responsibilities, and defensive use of a firearm will be covered in the class. It will take place on January 24th and will include firearm safety, laws regarding self-defense, and hands-on practical exercises at the firing range. Participants are expected to provide their own handgun, 50 rounds of ammunition, as well as eye and hearing protection. If interested in attending, contact Hayhara PD at 229-794-2440. Deputies asked residents to avoid 5th Avenue Southwest between 3rd and 4th Street Southwest on Saturday due to a barricaded individual related to a domestic violence situation. Deputies attempted to negotiate with the suspect, who eventually left the residence and said they were surrendering. The suspect then tried to run back into the residence as deputies approached, but deputies brought the suspect into custody using less lethal munitions. This is Rachel and A with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems. Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 66. Winds out of the south around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies with fog in spots tonight. Lows dip down to about 50. Highs level off around 73 with fog in spots. Early tomorrow, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 58.
When emergencies happen in Florida, every second counts. Beacon keeps you informed. It's the new statewide network bringing official emergency alerts straight from the Florida Division of Emergency Management and agencies statewide. No hype, no ads, just clear, verified updates to help protect you and your family. Download the free Beacon 24/7 Alerts app in your app store. Brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the University of Florida, and the Florida Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy? I was just thinking, I never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood.
Wow, good days.
So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played.
Kind of like the bikes we built.
Correct, yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are going to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
But they still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. I see Matt Lasser. He is at his home away from home, which is the facility there at Florida State. A famed walk right there is one that we've all made many times. He joins us now on the Jeff Cameron Show, covering all of the portal for us, amongst many other things. Hello, Matt Lasser. How the hell are you, buddy?
Tired, but good. It's been a grind out here the last few days, but it's fun. It's fun, especially when you have a big name quarterback.
All right, can you give me a better sense of, do you have an idea of sort of the philosophy surrounding Florida State's portal efforts as this thing embarked just a few days ago? Like, what are they trying to do here? Is the idea to land a big name quarterback like DJ Lagway in the hopes that sparks interest in everybody else? Or is it that, they're going to bring in as many people as they can and kind of get a feel for the market? Because right now they've only really signed one person. What's the situation?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff there's a lot that are trending well right now who aren't taking other visits. Like yesterday, there was a bunch of guys who have felt good about coming out of it. So I think we could get some good news soon on a lot of them. But yeah, right now it's just trying to get guys in. You need to get guys in, and then you can kind of figure it out from there. Like watching the Calandria stuff yesterday was insane, really fun. Like nothing you've ever really seen in college football before. I described it on yesterday, but it's like, we were standing out here. The agents walked out. The whole family, the whole camp that was here walked out with Calandria, his family, his agents. And then GM Garrett comes down, only talks to the agents, and them three go back inside, talk for 20 minutes or so, come back out, they leave, and the Pete Thamel report comes out that he's visiting Georgia Tech 2 minutes after they get in the car. So it's been wild. I think it's just getting people in and getting a feel for it, and then kind of seeing where things develop. But I do think there's some good news coming with with a few guys that have been here.
All right. So what's the timeline on Lagway?
So he went to lunch. We think he's done with lunch because the people who he was at lunch with have come back. He has not come back yet, but it's obviously Pete Thamel put out that he's expected to visit Virginia. I believe that's tomorrow as expected, but who knows what that really means. It's a little different than what the Calandria one felt like, because that was as soon as he left campus was that came out. This one being him still here makes it feel like maybe it's a leverage play a little bit. You don't know, but like that's a possibility. I honestly, there's two quarterbacks on campus right now because you also have Ashton Daniels, but you get the sense that you kind of need Lagway at this point, and you don't really have any other options as a QB1.
So if they don't get him, which I suspect they won't, I could be wrong, but if you don't get him, do they ride with Sperry ultimately? Is there anybody further down the list that hasn't visited yet that they might be interested in, a name you may have heard?
No, not right now. Again, then you go to Ashton Daniels, who's also on campus. Not the one that is a flashy name as your QB1, but he fits the system as a more mobile guy, right? Like that's one that you want that would fit well in this system. But yeah, right now, not that we really know of. It's kind of a wait and see situation. One name that I liked was Hauser, but he just committed to Illinois last night. So your options are kind of getting limited.
Offensive and defensive linemen, that's all I really ever want to ask about, because we're either average to subpar there year in and year out, save for what we were a few years ago, obviously, with two studs in the way of Verse and Fisk. Anybody that we can get excited about on that front?
Yeah, so you had John Walker, who he wrapped up his visit yesterday morning. He's now at Ohio State, which obviously in the portal you don't want to hear about a guy visiting elsewhere, but he is at Ohio State right now, and that's one that I still think he's going to go home and decide afterwards. I feel like we'll kind of see, and you still need to talk to some people around the recruitment on that. You had Rylan Kennedy here, defensive end from Texas A&M, who was here yesterday. He had no other visits scheduled after that. It's one that we think is trending very well. Also, I put in a pick for him last night when I got home. Offensive lineman, you had Bryant Williams on campus yesterday. That one was a weird one. The interview was weird. The vibe that we got from it is that he's not a take right now for Mike Norvell and company, and that they're kind of waiting and seeing. Because when I talked to him before the visit, he was like, yeah, me and my agent were only focused on Florida State. Comes out after the visit, and that's changed, and that he's taking visits to South Carolina, Northwestern, and a few others. Nate Pabst, great last name, another great last name of people they've had on campus the past few days, is one that I like where they're trending with as well. He visited yesterday, was a surprise visit. Again, no visits scheduled. I think that's one we could hear good news from soon.
One of the things, Matt, when in traditional recruiting, it's a good idea to self-scout and know your value and know where you sit in the pecking order, so that you're not spinning your wheels and wasting time recruiting guys you simply cannot sign. And to try to recruit guys that are going to use you for leverage in another school is a waste of your time. It's embarrassing. It's the kind of thing that can get you fired. In the portal era, Matt, how do they gauge that? Because there are a lot of big names and some mediocre sounding names or sizable names within the portal market that I think, when you tell me, for example, that somebody's visiting here and then they're going to visit Ohio State, I think we're wasting our time. So how do they gauge that? How do they go about the situation when you find out that a guy that's going to visit you is also going to visit, say, Texas? Good luck. You ain't getting that kid.
Hold on. I'll answer your question in a second. I'm going to turn the camera around because Lagway is crossing the parking lot right now, if you can see it. I'm not really sure, but I figured I'd give you a live view of him walking. Could you see it? I can't see. I had to turn. So
yeah, I can see it.
Okay. But sorry, it's just kind of hard. So really the thing is, when the want them to leave without committing, right? That's the fact of it. That's the way the portal works, because you want to give them the offer you can't refuse when they get here. Right. That was what was so interesting about watching the Calandria stuff yesterday, was because you didn't know which way it was going. And then the Pete Thamel report came out. So really, it's just about, call their bluff, really, man. Like, it's just like, if they're going to leave, they're going to leave. But you need to put your best foot out there when they're here.
Brother, go chalk down Lagway and give us the big news. I'll talk to you later, brother. Thanks for hopping in.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah, later. Matt Lisser working hard for us over there at the facility.
If his name was Galway, you'd like him more.
I'd like to be in Galway right about now.
I think one thing that's worth monitoring, if I might say, this particular portal cycle is multiple visits, and is that a standard thing now versus
that's what
it has been in past cycles, which is first visit, lock him in, he can't go anywhere else. It always seemed kind of silly to me, if I was going to be the representation of a player, to go one place and be done with it.
Well, back when
I drive up Valley, if I get on a plane, I go somewhere else because I got multiple bidders.
And high school recruiting now, it's changed so much over the years. But back in the day, I would always encourage kids to take every one of their 5 visits, right? And go see everything you can possibly see. Over the years, the trend changed where people didn't want you to leave campus without saying yes, and they knew if you got off campus without saying yes, there was a chance you're screwed and all that sort of thing. Anymore, it's hard to keep up with what the norm is. I just feel like FSU is getting played. It feels like for a lot of these kids,
they're a driver of income. Sure. Yeah. I'm not trying to make it sound better either, Night Lordies. And you're trying to make it. No, I'm trying. Every year this changes. Every year since this whole process began, there are new trends that become the norm. And so you've got to watch them every single year to see if there are takeaways that don't just happen here in this market, but they go somewhere else. Cam Coleman went to a second destination. You think he might go back to Texas? I think he might. I think there are going to be some circumstances where you have players decide to go multiple places because it's better for their bottom line value. I don't think they're going to be afraid, in short, by going to destination 1 being told take it or leave it. They'll say, take it or leave it.
No. If you're a major player, you don't have to fall for that. If you're somebody who's on the fringes and you get a great offer and an agent can pull you aside and say, well, you're not fetching that anywhere else, there's a big difference. I mean, a lot of these guys, Calandria and them, left because they could get that money elsewhere. Now, I don't really care if we got Calandria or not. I just got done saying that, but that's why that happened. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
Doesn't slow down after 55. It just changes. The moments may look different, but they matter just as much. Maybe you're celebrating family milestones or taking that trip you've always promised yourself. At Capital Health Plan Center for Healthy Aging, your My Vitality plan helps you stay ready for it all with personalized care and support built around what matters most to you. Because there's still so much ahead. Call 850-399-9039 to learn more.
And here come the leaves, thousands of them falling fast, covering every inch of the yard. But wait, who's this rushing in? It's the Lawn Johns with the ultimate fall cleanup blitz. From clearing leaves to fresh pine straw and mulch, the Lawn Johns dominate the field, your yard, so you can focus on what matters. Grilling, chilling, and cheering on your team. Don't let leaves sack your game day fun. Call the Lawn Johns today and win the battle of the backyard. The Lawn Johns, your lawn, our game.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular as the words recalled the days gone by, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration and at the stroke of midnight, join together in singing Auld Lang Syne.
Wishing you all the best in the new year and reminding you to be safe in all of your holiday gatherings and never drink and drive. From Wood and Glass on South Monroe, call 222-5781. Online at woodandglass.com. And Brambana and Ricci Immigration Attorneys in Tallahassee. Call 224-4529. Online at brambana.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Love to compete on the dartboard? Then it's time to head to the CP. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is Tallahassee's premier dart bar, featuring steel tip boards and soft tip internet play. The Corner Pocket hosts leagues and tournaments regularly. Just check out their social media to find a time that works for you. And in between games, grab a pint and a bite in the cool AC, or enjoy yourself outside on the deck. Whether you want to catch a game or start one of your own, the place to be is the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachie Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your sports flash update on Real Talk 93.3 in Tallahassee.
On Saturday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Carolina Panthers, keeping their playoff hopes alive. But in hindsight, it ended up not mattering. That's because the Atlanta Falcons, they defeated the New Orleans Saints yesterday by a 19-17 score. That created a 3-team tiebreaker in the NFC South. And in that tie-breaking situation, it was the Panthers who held the tiebreakers. So the Panthers are headed to the postseason, and the Buccaneers season comes to an end. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they finished out their regular season beating Tennessee 41-7 on Sunday. They open up their playoffs at home against Buffalo next Sunday. Dolphins finished out their year with a loss to the Patriots 38-10. This Sports Flash is presented by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo insurance and save with Progressive. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
Straight Talk presents the math of more. Here's how it works. When you say yes to more with Straight Talk, you're left with more for all the other good stuff. So getting an unlimited plan starting at just $25 a month equals more savings for your family's weekend adventures. And with a network covered by Verizon, you can share more from wherever you go. It's simple math, really. More equals more with Straight Talk. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Taxes and fees apply. The $25 plan requires a compatible unlocked device and a new line of service. Additional terms apply.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Tired of calling 1-800 numbers just to get put on hold? Flush those numbers down the drain and call Terry West Plumbing and Septic Services, now offering Terry's Toilets, providing clean, reliable porta potties for any job site, special event, or backyard party. Real local people doing real work. No robots, no AI, no call centers. For all your septic services and portable restroom needs, one local call wipes away the competition. Call 850-510-8558. That's 510-8558. Or visit terrywestplumbing.com. When you call, we answer.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
Hi, this is Gary from Budget Blinds of Tallahassee, Gaston, Wakulla, and Franklin counties. As the year comes to an end, we want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our wonderful customers for trusting us to help you with all of your window covering needs. Your support means the world to us, and we're so grateful to be part of this amazing community. From our family to yours, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. May your holiday season be filled with joy, love, and warm memories. Budget Blinds of Tallahassee, Gaston, Wakulla, and Franklin counties, we thank you for letting us be part of your story.
Pay-per-view fights can ring up big bills, especially since in the Octagon, there is one every few weeks. That's why the Seventh Hill Tap Room, right downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, carries every single fight. Plus, unlike most pay-per-view bars, there's no cover charge. And drink specials, too, like $3 select domestic beers and more. And if you enjoy international soccer, Seventh Hill opens early. $2 mimosas on Sundays, anyone? The Seventh Hill Tap Room, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, just downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
was, man, a lot going on, to say the least. There's been, and I hadn't touched on Florida State basketball, which played Duke very well over the weekend. I will get to it, but here we are. By the way, that made me laugh. I just entered the chat to see if you posted anything about the breaking news about the Desir twins, Mandrell and Darryl, deciding to enter the transfer portal, which, you know, if they follow through with and actually leave the school and sign somewhere else, feels a little catastrophic. Just slightly. Not good. It invites the much bigger conversation that we imagined could happen when they made the decision to bring back Mike Norvell. Breaking FSU true freshman twin brothers, Mandrell and Darryl Desir, plan to enter the transfer portal. Their agency tells On3 Sports. Obviously, you had a freshman All-American there. Both kind of look the part, don't they? Look like guys that can play a little bit. We saw it. They could. They also looked like they had the body types too, and were headed in an upwardly mobile trajectory. Oh, buddy. You know, it's tough. This is we'll see what ends up happening here, but you cannot look at the situation and the numbers, the sheer numbers of guys that have entered the portal here at Florida State and not think that you have a massive 3-alarm fire on your hands here. And, you know, I worried at the end of the year with the decision that was made that you were going to have a hard time, that this thing could avalanche even more. And we'll see, but it certainly looks like it's moving in that direction. Boy, oh boy. You are quite possibly looking at another really ugly situation for this next football season. That would be 3 years in a row. You have what is already a very angry fan base, and I can't imagine today they feel any better given the news earlier in the day that Amari Williams is entering the transfer portal as well. We didn't talk about that in hour one. Amari Williams is a talent who I think, if properly developed, would be somebody that I think, honestly, could play at a real high level. I thought athletically, he had the gifts necessary to continue to develop and be a good player for you. It just marks another 4-star guy that you brought in, that you successfully brought in to your program, and that quickly has left. And now you get the news today about the Desir twins. Today's not a good day. I think a lot of people were looking to gain traction in the portal. May still happen. I'll hold out hope, I suppose, that they'll be able to fill this roster with some names that might excite you. If not names that excite you, at least maybe good football players. Again, it's going to make it tough to galvanize both the players that are thinking about visiting Florida State and or possibly signing with Florida State to witness the outgoing numbers of players and some of the names of those players to really take Florida State seriously. Money's money. It's a factor. But again, I don't think Florida State is on the cusp of greatly outspending several other programs that would have interest in any kind of big name player that you would be interested in, right? That's they're not really in the position to do so.
Specific to these two players, and we all know that you have a freshman All-American among the two, but it's not like Darryl was bad either.
No.
They got them on a rev share deal that was very Florida State friendly because they weren't heralded coming out of high school. And so that means that you have to come back to the table after a year such as this. And I get it because they're twins. Maybe one brother is trying to pull his other brother along in terms of money. This is one you can't whiff on, especially since this morning, Amari Williams announced he was leaving, and he was going to focus on defensive line. You can say, well, what has Amari proved? Not nearly as much as the Desirs have. I hear you. But one would think Amari wasn't the cheapest commodity in the world. You have more money to divert. Again, you can't miss on this one. You can't miss on this one. This is the one.
You can't miss on
it. You can't get this wrong. You couldn't have gone cheap. Now, perhaps they were offered the world by somebody else, and we didn't want to match it, but this is one you can't miss. These are the guys you got to keep.
Yeah, and they're going to get a commitment from that running back from Texas. So your running back room, again, we've seen that the running back room has had talent. You brought in a Chroma a year ago, who I think is talented. But none of that makes you feel very good if you don't have an offensive line and if you're hemorrhaging the few quality players you do have at the same time that you're bringing in guys at a position that, frankly, I don't know should be your area of focus. You know, it's like when we would continually sign cornerbacks, and I would go, all right, well, you know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you cornerbacks don't matter, but when you're deficient on the offensive and defensive lines, I think we need to further focus our attention there in the trenches. I don't need another 4-star DB.
And specifically to the Wisner market, and that has obviously been reported, it is breaking, that Trey Wisner has committed to Florida State to be a running back. We got people in Texas happen to know about this one. The market, according to Pete Nakos, for running backs this year, across the board, low end $300,000, high end $1 million. Last year at Texas, I have it on decent authority, he was making towards the low end of that range, 300, 400, somewhere in there. He asked Texas for the very top end of the running back market.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I glanced at it. He's been their leading rusher each of the last 2 years.
He has. It's not like he's gone for, last year was a 1,200-yard season or anything like that, but he was their leading rusher.
But
absolutely.
I think 2 years ago he had over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player. I'm not trying to denigrate him. He's a good player. But he asked Texas for the upper end of that.
And they said no,
market.
and so he's coming here. So what are we
So
paying?
what's the price? Exactly. Man.
Stop doing that.
This, in the moment, feels like that time that in the radio station, people got fired and automobiles came in. And we said, what's wrong with this picture? Because that's a very expensive backfield. If he got even splitting the difference of what he wanted and what he was just getting paid, and then Chroma's getting what he's getting paid, that's a very expensive backfield when you could use some help elsewhere.
So when you talk about roster retention, you obviously have to bring back the Desir twins. You would have liked to have kept Amari. I guess maybe he priced you out of that and you said no. I don't know. There were a few guys that you were able to get back, which we were excited about. Happened over the break. You and I didn't have a chance to talk about Barker coming back, which I thought was a very, very, very good thing. There was an uptick in good news for Florida State ever so briefly. Between that and Rawls, you did all right to get those two back. That was a big deal. That's big boy roster retention. What I had hoped was that you would find perhaps one or two big-time offensive linemen, a big-time rush-in that you might have to pay the suck tax and beyond for. And I'm willing to do it. Those are big-time positions of need. If that means diverting funds away from signing a potential running back from Texas and giving them instead towards an offensive or defensive lineman, or hell, even a quarterback further down the rung on the ladder than, say, DJ Lagway or something, then I'm for that too. If you wanted to, you got a kid that's an offensive lineman that I saw from Michigan. I saw another offensive lineman that was entering the portal from Ohio State, which Florida State is said to maybe be interested in. I believe he was a center. I could see overpaying for those positions. Like you could hear that number and go, wow, you really had to wear it there, didn't you? But okay, I'll wear it there. I'll wear it there because you got a shot week to week and it travels if you can block it up. I just don't want to spend, and I get it. People will say, well, if you do not spend big money on a quarterback, then it sends the message that this isn't a place where they value the elite quarterbacks, and you're never going to get one. I would argue when you signed Gus Malzahn to be your offensive coordinator, you made that decision.
I just wonder if Wisner had not been committed for a little while because there was a lot of hooting and hollering from campus earlier today. Maybe when the Desirs news was released, Florida State said, hit it. Let's go ahead and announce this one. Let's get some good news out there to combat the bad news. So in a span of 5 minutes, if you're just hopping on the air, the Desir twins have entered the portal or announced intentions to enter the
well, they can do it now. They can just do it.
They can, but I think this was an announcement through the agency that it's going to happen. And then Trey Wisner, the Texas Longhorn starting running back, has committed to Florida State. He's a good player for what that's worth. I watched a lot of him this morning, and the one thing he does really well is he gets 0 to 60 after catching the ball. So that's a nice thing.
We had good players at running back last year.
Yeah, we did.
Sawchuk doesn't suck. Lucas was underutilized. You have Croma, who was, on a per-touch basis, really good player.
Really expensive, too.
It is it's frustrating to watch play out. I don't think that, again, this is the quandary you find yourself in when you've had back-to-back losing seasons. And when you see an exodus, the likes of which Florida State is witnessing right now, it creates a perception. Trying to overcome that perception costs a lot of money, and it can't always be done. There's plenty of time left in this portal window. So I'm not going to tell you that there's zero chance that he or that they won't turn it around. But if you're going to go with a feeling and a vibe that you have right now, you'd say, not likely. And I get the sense sometimes. Now, I think the Texas kid signing does help you in this sense. I was talking about wanting to be very careful about being used and being used for leverage. Signing that young man stems the tide.
Yes, and specific to his skill set and the way he plays, it's the opposite of Croma. So, at least in that sense, I don't know that the budget for the two of them follows form, but the style that the two of them play with, it's a nice compliment.
Well, it makes sense because one's 5'11", 190, and the other's 220 pounds. You got a bruiser and you got a scat back.
Yeah, scat plus.
Yeah. I'm not trying to label both of them. Yeah, because Croma can be more than just a bruiser, but he is a big running back who wants to run downhill, square his shoulders, and make you pay for tackling.
Good on the perimeter.
He's a speed guy.
He's got good vision, good balance, good burst, nice hands out of the backfield as well, which is important. Yeah. So these two fit nicely together. It would be a good moment without the specter of the Desirs entering the portal just before it.
Could very well be, Tom, that they bring the Desirs back.
Yes,
at an elevated cost.
They were just setting us up to feel low so we could feel high again. It's a brilliant strategy.
No, it's not ideal. Again, on the same day that you find out Amari Williams, and I like Amari Williams probably more than many others. I feel like he's a really good football player, has a chance to be a really good football player. What tends to happen with guys that we bring in that are big names or four-star players like he was is they show you a flash, you see some promise, there's a moment in a game even where you go, oh, look at that, a kid can play a little bit, and then they kind of get real quiet, you're wondering what's happening, and then they're gone. Yeah, and you're left with the feeling of failure. Failure to develop a four-star blue-chip guy yet again. At some point you say, we're the guy that's been divorced 6 times that hates every one of his ex-wives and can't understand how it is he's not married.
I'll tell you what I would do right now if I was Juju Wynn.
Oh, well, any of these guys, this is what happens. You get bent over a barrel when you suck.
What do you say about a raise, everybody?
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is he hasn't done a thing.
Right.
Not a thing.
But the leverage is there. I think that was part of the Earl Little math. Now, Earl has not officially announced yet, even though there's
I'd let Earl go.
I would agree.
Earl could take it on down the road.
Well, at the time that all of this happened, this is days ago now, you were talking to the BC kid that now visited Miami that was slotted for the same role. So you could have imported another Earl Little probably for cheaper, but Earl was asking for a lot of money because Barker was gone and Rawls was gone. And we said, no, I don't know if we can go that far. So Earl declared for the draft. Rawls comes back. Barker comes back. What do you know? Earl takes down the graphic that declared for the NFL draft on his social media.
Go take it to the NFL draft, Earl. I'm sure you'll do great.
I think they're going to announce it at some point here soon. But I would love to know exactly what the numbers were and how they went up and down throughout that process. But that's what happens here. The point I'm trying to make is that it's contagious. So now, if you're a defensive lineman at Florida State, you just watch Amari walk through the door, which that's not a giant loss. The Desirs, that is a giant loss. You could come back at least to the NIL side of it and ask for a couple more bucks.
Well, and you don't ever want to fall victim. This is where I definitely hope the new front office situation allows for a philosophy and a different way of viewing players. So, if you're going to just base something on sheer numbers in terms of statistics, you would look at Earl Little's statistics if you're an agent for Earl Little Jr., and you would say, well, look, he led your team in this, and this, and he's this kind of a player. And I would then turn on the film and tell you he had some good games. There are some moments. He's certainly not shy, and he's frequently out of position and doesn't tackle well. It's that age-old free agent debate that ends up happening where you have a player who produces a certain kind of number that makes him attractive, or at least his agent to shop him. But then when you dive into those numbers, you're like, actually.
Yeah, well, there's a reason that when we were lamenting the losses for Florida State in the secondary in different orders, I think
mention him.
We argued Rawls and Barker back and forth one way or the other.
Much more so.
Because they weren't passengers for parts of the season. They were always driving as much as they could.
Well, they weren't always. He was reckless.
Yeah.
And frequently not where he was supposed to be. So that is frustrating.
Well, the other thing, too, and we'll have to learn behind the scenes, offset language has teeth. We've learned that so far. That helped Deuce stay in place, I believe, and come back for another year, because it's essentially a buyout that if you're another school and you wanted to come poach a kid away from you.
So wait a minute. That's what helped him stay with Florida State as opposed to go into another college football team.
Yeah.
That didn't have anything to do with obviously his decision.
Correct. And or Florida State's leverage, to how much do we bump up? How much do we not bump up year over year? Because you've got teeth and schools are respecting the teeth, which is important. That's a big storyline that they're honoring that they have to pay a buyout in order to go get a player. That's what the Deuce retention tells me, and some of these other retentions are telling me. The problem with the Desirs is you paid them so little because they weren't heralded players that their offset's next to nothing.
Yeah,
so they had more leverage.
You actually got something right in evaluation for once.
You had a first world problem, which is, okay, we better bump these guys up because we got them at a great discount. But now we need to bump them up because their offset language is so cheap that there are going to be more suitors for them. That's how it makes your head spin, but that's the reality that these programs are dealing with right now.
Well, I think what happens for most college football fans, they say, wake me up when it's over. For most college football fans, they think, well, this isn't tenable.
And for Florida State fans, a lot of them, I saw the energy in the chat, and I get it. I'm done with college football. Well, the problem is we're feeling the worst of whatever this era is because of the losing. There are other teams that are facing similar problems to us, but if they win more, it's not quite an avalanche. It's a rock slide.
Well, yeah, and you can have a bad year. You can't find yourself in a position where you have back-to-back losing seasons and you are not in a position to continue to spend your way out of that with the so-called suck tax. Like, you can't do that in perpetuity because the people that you asked for all the money from before are pissed. Their money has gone to waste. It hasn't turned a product, out there that they could be proud of and be happy that they invested in the same way. Really what it does is it creates distrust more than anything else. It creates the distrust because the money people that give to Florida State are huge boosters for a reason. They love Florida State. Most of them went to Florida State. They care deeply about the fortunes of Florida State. But when they invest and they don't get a return on that investment, and I'm not talking about financially, but they don't see the dividends on the field in terms of wins, they begin to distrust the evaluation and the development of those in charge. And they say, I'm not going to give you any more money because the last two times I did, you effed it up. So then you're at a crossroads because now you're stuck because the administration doesn't want to pay Mike for all that, all that money to go away. And then they in turn say, well, the thing that would keep us from having another bad season is if you invested in the roster again. And those people go, I just did. I gave you all that money for Cromwell. How many times did he touch the ball? I gave you, you see what it's just, you're in a vicious circle, and I get it. I mean, they're embittered. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey, Knowles fans, it's Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage, proud sponsor of the Jeff Cameron Show. If you feel like the housing market is on a losing streak, I can help you find new momentum and respond. Waiting for mortgage rates to drop could actually cost you more in the long run. When rates fall, home prices and buyer competition go up. That's why I'm helping Knoll Nation to get pre-approved now. So when the perfect home hits the market, you're ready to score before the other team even lines up. Whether you're buying your first home or upgrading your dream home, I'll guide you through every step with passion and preparation. Let's get started today, and you can do that at loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com. You can reach me at 954-369-6171. That's 954-369-6171. I'm Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage, helping Knowles everywhere find their home field advantage.
Don't risk falling off that ladder. Let the pros handle it at Gutter Solutions of Tallahassee. If there's one thing your home desperately wants on its Christmas wish list this year, it's healthy, protected gutters. Because nothing spoils holiday cheer like overflowing gutters, roof leaks, or water damage right before the new year. And with more winter rain on the way, now's the perfect time to make sure your home is ready. Call Gutter Solutions of Tallahassee. We provide seamless gutter installation, expert repairs, professional cleaning, and premium gutter guards, all designed to keep your home protected so you can enjoy the season stress-free. No ladders, no mess, no mid-holiday emergencies. Plus, the year end is the best time to schedule service. Avoid the spring rush, protect your home before the rainy season returns, and start the new year off with one less thing to worry about. Give your home the gift that lasts. Reliable gutters from a trusted local team. Gutter Solutions of Tallahassee. With us, it's personal.
It's where you raise your kids, where friends become family, where every corner has a story worth telling. It's your neighborhood. At ABC 27, we share those stories, bringing you news that connects communities, builds pride, and reminds us we're part of something bigger. We are ABC 27, in your neighborhood.
Your business doesn't stop, and neither does IOI's. From the trusted owners of Mac & More Systems, IOI's offers 24/7 IT support, cybersecurity monitoring, HIPAA and compliance consulting, cloud data management, phone systems, and full network design and security. For healthcare, finance, legal industries, IOI specializes in keeping sensitive industries protected and connected. Local service, major protection. Visit IOIs.com today and discover why smart businesses trust IOIs.
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Knowles.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Irashfel not going to join us currently because he's in the midst of typing a story about the Desir twins. Also, about the commitment of the young man from Texas who just said yes at running back. I mentioned a moment ago, Trey Wisner, couldn't remember his name there for a second. And then also any more news regarding all of the portal comings and goings.
And hightailing into the 315.
That's the other part of this. We do have a 3:15 press conference today. We'll try to maybe bring you some of that if we can get to the meat and potatoes part of it. I don't really care about some of the other stuff early in that press conference.
Understood.
I care much more about the new GM.
We've done it in the past with major announcements and hirings on these radio waves that we've been on, where we just broadcast the whole presser start to finish. I would agree with you. Probably not in this case. Also, for the video channel's sake, we couldn't because we don't have the live rights, so we'd have to give them an audio stream only. So, yeah, we can monitor. Usually there's a DVR function on the live stream, so I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, keep an eye on it. We'll do that. Garrett, I want to hear what he has to say about his role, about his responsibilities, about how much he can get accomplished this year, right here, right now.
Basically, the opening statement and the pleasantries, once that gets out of the way, they clap. Garrett steps up to the podium. You want that? Setting his agenda, speaking to his...
Yeah, something along those lines. I would agree with that. By the way, I do owe it to everybody for those that didn't see, and I'm sorry you missed out if that's the case. It was a competitive effort last week against North Carolina last Tuesday. So that gave you and I a glimmer of hope as we sat down to watch Florida State and Duke, the 6th ranked Duke Blue Devils, rolling on into the TLC Double C. And while I will tell you that I said, as I always do when anybody rolls into the TLC Double C, that you do not just stroll on in expecting to walk away with an easy victory at the TLC Double C. Oh, nay. And so it was that we fought and we fought and we fought. And I think that you got the kind of game, once again, that we were hoping to see a little bit more consistently from this year's squad. One that reveals they're not good enough, not even close, but they'll fight you. They'll always fight you, and they'll put themselves occasionally, especially on nights where they make a lot of shots, which they did, they'll put themselves in a position to provide a scare for some of the better teams in this conference. Give me that this year. Give me that. Give me that hope. Let me see the coaching progress. Let me see the players progress. We've got the cavalry coming with next year's class that is already verbally committed. And there are a minimum of 3 really good players that have said yes to Florida State that changes their fortunes, including a 7-foot center that is known as Baby Shaq. So until you get that, you just have to see progress. You have to see effort. You have to see some competitive juices. And we saw it again in this game, 91-87 Duke. And, look, they came out the gates, meaning Florida State did, making shots. 6 of our first 7, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. Right out the gates, it's 17-11. You went, all right. If you're going to see there's magic in the air, it's going to have to be on a day in which a lot of shots fall. We had a 7-point lead with 12:15 to play in the half. We held the lead until very, very late in the half. I think just over a minute to play before Duke tied it up and going to the locker room tied at 40. So, you couldn't have been more satisfied than having that happen. I thought, plus it was entertaining. Let's be honest. It was an entertaining game. Just everybody. Duke was making a lot of shots too.
They both were. Yeah. There was that spell in the second half where they both went dry a little bit, but there were a couple opportunities for Florida State in the second half where they get out in transition off a steal or a miss, and then they kind of dribble themselves into no man's land and come away empty-handed, or they try to move faster in transition than they reasonably can, and it's a live ball turnover for a live ball turnover. You had a couple of those moments there we go, oh my God, if they make a basket this time down the court, I mean, this is turning into a fun game into, we're not going to forget today. It got to the brink there a couple of times.
Yeah, at any point did you believe? I'll tell you when I thought maybe, just maybe, to your point, to echo your sentiment, 59-55, 15 to play. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay, all right, boys.
Well, and from that point forward, again, Duke went through a 5-minute spell without hitting a field goal. Now, unfortunately, we did as well. Went through a tough spot offensively. But the closer the closer you are to triple zeros on the clock within a couple of possessions and you keep it in 6 points, 7 points, 4 points, I didn't believe it in my heart of hearts, but I wanted to see it, and I thought it was possible. I didn't think we were playing out the string and they're just going to pull away. I didn't think by default that was going to happen. We were playing real tough.
Well, you know what teams do? Duke went to a matchup zone, and that changed everything about the flow of that game. We led at that point. Not long after they go up, I think it was a 12-2 run, and they're up 74-65, and you're thinking, well, that'll do it. But we did, same as we did against North Carolina. We fought back. Chauncey Wiggins hits a shot. Kobe McGee, 3-point after an offensive rebound, gets a 3-point play. We're back within 3. There's only 5:25 to play. So 3-point game with 3:19 to play. But a couple of timely threes from Duke stretched that lead to 7. But I have to say, I really love that. I think it was McCray hit the 3, McGee hit the 3, and it's 87-85. You know, look, you didn't feel like you were going to win that game, but it's a 2-point game with under a minute to play. You're kind of like, look, man, that's all you can ask for. It's weird with this team because of those blowout losses they have, the ones against Georgia and A&M and Dayton. When they went on the road, they have the ball on the free throw line with a chance to tie with 15 seconds to play against Florida. Against North Carolina, I don't remember what the number was, but they're within 8 with like 3 minutes to play or something. Like, they're in the game. They're and then this game is a 2-point game with under a minute to play. There are these pockets of moments where you're thoroughly outmanned. They are the better team. They have the better players. They've spent a lot on their rosters.
How
obviously.
is this game only a 2-point game? You feel that going the other way?
Yeah. If you're a fan of the other teams, of the ones I just mentioned, you're going, what in the world? So, look, we made a lot of shots. In the games that we lost against, UMass was the one I couldn't think of in the second half where we couldn't make anything. In the games where we lost and got beat badly, you pull up those numbers here, you can see in those games we could not shoot. We struggled from the field. But in this game, we shot the ball well. I mean, look, Duke was 15 of 17 on the free throw line in the second half. Look, that stinks.
We're going to foul a lot.
We have to. You played well here. And now you play Saturday against NC State. They're 10-5 this season, 1-1 in the ACC. Little sleepy nooner. TLC double C.
Yeah, I mean, this last week was a good week where you have a pulse as a program. You're obviously nowhere close to what you're going to be from a talent standpoint next year, but you have a pulse. You didn't pack it in. All right, now check. That's great. I'm glad that you scared North Carolina for 35 minutes and you scared, 25 minutes, and you scared Duke for 39 minutes.
Yeah, you did.
Do you have an emotional letdown when you're not playing North Carolina and Duke? That's the next test.
I would hope that it's the carrot that gets you to play a game that gives you a chance to win late and that you pull it off at home. You're going to be in a much better position from a talent standpoint against NC State than you were against Duke, obviously, and against North Carolina. Let's hope it happens. We'll see. I know that basketball right now is being largely ignored. I don't like to do this show with the central theme of Florida State and not get to it. When you play an opponent like Duke, you gotta at least talk about where they're at. And more people, as we move towards the post-football season, if you will begin to gravitate, I understand, towards many other things, including, like everybody is right now, waiting on Florida State baseball. And I would say I'll do you one better, Tommy. Did I double-check this correctly? Because I think I might have. Let's see here. Yes, sir. 36 days, pitchers and catchers.
Oh, there you go. All right.
36 days, buddy.
In 36 minutes, I could use an announcement that says the Desirs, locked
them back in.
Yeah, they're going to remain.
See, you're getting mired in the negativity, Tom. I'm finding the light.
That wasn't negativity. That was hope. I was yearning for a hopeful, positive moment. I'm hoping that that's the case. We had a couple of kids that we just retained in our little hiatus from last week's show.
Don't you think it would have been a wise idea to seek to get the retainment of those two players before the portal opened? Today arrived?
Yeah. What's strange is the portal did open. There was nothing about it. I had heard the Amari Williams negotiation was ongoing last week. in terms of what is his role, what is the comp, all that stuff. I had heard that was happening last week. So that was on the radar. This was not on the radar at all in terms of them potentially entering the portal. That was a bit of a personal bombshell.
Well, I was always worried about the Desir twins because they can play. Like they look like they have a real upside. If I were a rival of Florida State's or somebody that just needed two really talented young defensive linemen, I would have said, oh, go get them from Florida State, because Florida State's in a mess. They're having to overpay for whatever kids they can fill out their roster with right now. It's a losing situation. It's been back-to-back years. It seems to me the locker room doesn't believe in the head coach. They're going through a transition in their front office. Let's offer stability and more money here for kids that we know can play. Florida State's easy to attack right now. It's not a desirable place to be. Doesn't appear to be too terribly competent. They lose a lot. 3 factors that you need in order to poke holes in the credibility of a place.
And in this case, for these players, their buyout/offset language was very, very low. Whereas in some other cases, it might cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more, who knows, in order to procure the opportunity to then pay the kid. Kind of like a coach buyout works, very similar. This was not that. This was, unless they agreed to some deal that they didn't announce at Florida State in the last month, which I doubt they did, you could get these guys to enter the open market with a minimal buyout that you have to front to Florida State. We'll see, though. They could still turn around and come back. This might be a leverage play. Everything, you have to assume everything in every moment now is a leverage play. Well, what about this transfer candidate? Why is he going to this next campus? Is that a leverage play, or is he actually intending to go to Virginia instead of Florida State? Did they enter the portal because they actually are done with Florida State? Is the door closed, or is this a fluid situation and this is a leverage play? That's everything is about that at this point.
John Garrett's press conference. He's joined by Michael Alford and Mike Norvell. That will take place in the 3:00 hour. We'll endeavor to bring you some of what John Garrett has to say. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
One man was found dead at 2900 Mission Road. Been ongoing. Deputies ask that anyone who may have witnessed the incident to contact HCSO or FDLE. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 66. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy with fog in spots tonight. Lows level off around 50. Mainly cloudy skies expected with fog early tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 73. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 62 degrees.
All babies cry. It's a normal part of a baby's development. From around 2 weeks to 5 months old, the period of purple crying occurs when babies cry a lot, sometimes for no reason. Check if they're tired, hungry, or need their diaper changed. It's important to stay calm and try soothing techniques. Go on a walk or hold them skin to skin. But remember, never shake a baby. It's okay to ask for help. The period of purple crying is just that, a period. For more information, visit PreventChildAbuseFL.org.
This message is sponsored by the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida, the State of Florida, Department of Health, and the Florida Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy? I was just thinking, they never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood. Oh, good days. So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played. Kind of like the bikes we built. Correct, yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are going to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
And you still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Sorry, NFL music in my
good
mind.
Weekend for that.
Woo!
Another one.
Did you sit straight up last night to ensure you would not fall asleep during that wildly entertaining Baltimore-Pittsburgh game? Because I did.
I watched the hell out of that because it was too good. I'm like, you're too good. I can't turn you off.
It was awesome.
It was. That fourth quarter especially.
Tale of like two completely different games. That fourth quarter was two teams deciding, I don't want to win, you win. No, I don't want to win, you win. I'll tell you what, I'll trump you. I'll take you one further. I'll miss the extra point.
From the moment that two unblocked defenders are approaching Lamar Jackson, that is when the acid hit on that game. It
was unbelievable.
It went insane.
Well, and it's funny, too, because as soon as he emerged from that sandwich of death that you're describing, I went, you bring that pressure to get the ball out quickly. If the ball doesn't come out quickly, somebody's dead in the water. And they were. Twice it was Jalen Ramsey who was dead in the water, which was hilarious. Now, he was guessing that we're bringing pressure. I'm not going to worry about the long.
No. Well, in that situation when Lamar breaks it, I'm thinking, all right, well, he's going to run for the first down, but he's pointing
like, go.
Saying, go. And then he lays it on him.
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, that was the first time this year he's looked like Lamar.
The one call, I was like, oh, my God, this Pittsburgh defense is going to emerge because they were doing fine with the points against. It's essentially a playoff game.
Yeah.
I'm always ripping on them for giving up 30. And then it's the third and short where Flowers has the entire 2/3 of the field wide open. One thing that I learned from Dominic Robinson years ago in terms of play calling and sequencing, because he's a coordinator in high school, is that when you get to a third and short like that, you concede the first down and you cover other stuff. They're going to get that first down. If we could stop it, it would be great, but it's not a fourth down.
Yeah.
It's third and a foot.
Yeah.
And yet in that situation, Pittsburgh sells everyone out on Derrick Henry.
Well, that's also a unique situation.
It is, but they're not over midfield. They're not in field goal range. You're going to have to – it's a foot.
Well, that game began looking like Baltimore was going to blow Pittsburgh out.
Yeah, it did.
And then Tomlin said, Tom Lang, I will not hear of it. Here I am, brother. We will battle. We will fight. We will come back. We will defend, and we will win. There were high-level throws made by two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and Aaron dialed back the clock a little bit on a couple of those throws. I swear that guy's arm strength is exactly what it used to be. It's insane how hard he can throw the football. And Lamar has obviously got a flick of the wrist throw for 50 yards. That's, it's something to behold, especially after scrambling out of trouble. It happens all the time. Not this year for them. Not this year. And so to see a relatively healthy version was nice. That game was crazy. I was trying to go to bed. We're getting back into the swing of things. The holidays are over. Look, both those teams, neither of them are winning the Super Bowl. Neither of them are making a deep run in the playoffs, I don't believe. So I'm sitting there, okay, you've been good. You've eaten right the last 2 days. You've tried to get your body right. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 72 hours. I'm going to sleep early. But the game, it was hard hitting. It's an old school rivalry. I can't help myself. I just kept watching and watching. And then finally, but this is ridiculous. This game's incredible. I can't go to bed.
Sometimes Collinsworth will grate on everyone. But
sometimes he's funny.
Last night he's hilarious.
He was great last night.
Because a couple of the plays, the aforementioned third and short, and then the play that Rodgers, it's the up the sideline, kid slips. Both the times he's just a fan.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the ball's in the air. He's like, oh.
Well, he's
got him.
The second the play that Zay Flowers scored on, the second one that was like the Zay Flowers play, he goes, he did it again.
He's got it again.
And Tirico was in rare form. He was so good last night.
His call of the Lamar play, you can't drum that up.
As good as it gets.
That's skill. That's on the fly skill.
He's always been really good.
Mad skill.
I wanted to go back. I would have had to get out of my bed to do it, but and I wasn't prepared to. I wanted to go back and record that. It was that good. At our heart, we still love great broadcasting, and we know what it takes to build the tension in those moments and how you create the visuals, even though you're watching it. So it's harder. It's weird on television to try to be able to get there. He was sensational last night. Sensational.
Even his setup with the final kick, which was pushed wide.
It was incredible.
He timed it right. He left the air open just before the snap. He talked about the season's final game, comes down the season's final play for playoffs.
Is nuts, by the way. The NFL, if you were writing a script, you'd say, this is a bad movie. This is so cliche. You mean to tell me you mean to tell me that we're going to get the right to go to the playoff, to win a division, comes down to a kick on the final play of the NFL Sunday season? That's unreal. It was so cool. Yeah, really well done. It was, and the fact that those two, being the rivals that they are, in that weather, with that fan base, which is rabid, in that stadium, well, that was as hard hitting as it gets.
This is one in the moment. As a first guess, you're gonna have to take me on my honor. They've got the ball, and when they put the knee in the dirt to run it down, they had 12 seconds left, 13 seconds left, and a timeout. That building, I know they're not going to the open end of the stadium, but that building and 40-plus yard field goals,
tough.
It's different than most any other building, maybe outside of Chicago or the Meadowlands. It's really difficult. And I understand that their kicker was perfect from inside of 53 all year.
Missed inside of 53.
I understand the process, and you can't disagree with the process. I just thought in that moment, you could run another play
get a little closer,
and probably get 6 or 7 more yards. You do have the timeout. Might as well try it, but they decided not to. And congratulations to the Houston Texans, who are not playing Saturday at 4:30 this week for the first time in 9 playoff trips. They are not in the first game window. They're playing Monday night against the aforementioned Steelers next week.
We had fun at their expense last week when we did the show. You could put it's etched in stone. If you're a Texans fan, you're used to having to play that game, but it's not happening. Well, what I would point out about the NFL, and third hours, unless something's breaking, I'll have plenty of time to do it. Today is, again, one of my favorite days, and I don't know why. It's not that I revel in others' misfortune, although I never really lose sleep over this because, I mean, my goodness gracious, they're all making large sums of money. They'll be okay. They're not going to be out on the streets. But today's Black Monday. And this year's version of Black Monday, I thought we could see 10 to 12 changes. Now, I'm counting the 2 that already took place during the course of the season, which was the Titans and the Giants. And then we saw that the Browns kept their GM, fired their head coach. The Cardinals fired their head coach after 3 seasons. Pete Carroll, grand opening, grand closing with Las Vegas. So we're starting to see it. It's happening. That's 5. And I suspect, Atlanta obviously cleaned house. And they did so on a damn 4-game win streak.
They sure did.
They're like, that's great. You can take it on down the road. How about the Giants yesterday winning that football game? You realize that it became a lot easier for Las Vegas to win their game once the Giants won theirs, because had the Giants lost there, the Raiders, the way this is set up is that the Raiders win and the Giants lose. The Giants have the first pick. Instead, now the Giants fall all the way, I think, to 5. Can you imagine in that moment as a Giants fan, you're not kind of saying, like, let's not, no, what are we doing? Why? I don't know. Not everybody wants the first pick.
I'm just getting a little uneasy because I feel this foreboding sense that on Saturdays and Sundays we're watching our same head coaches from this past season man the sidelines on both days.
We'll see. Okay. Well, one of them's for sure.
I know. Just give me my Sunday back. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking the football gods. Give me some guy I've never heard of that was a quality control assistant with the Rams for 4 years, or then he was with Denver. Like, who?
You know, the hard part is, so, you finish 8-9 like everybody else in the NFC South, not named New Orleans. And if you fire your head coach, which I'm for, but if you do, it means you're going to start again with another offensive coordinator, because whoever you hire is bringing in their own. And that would be the fourth OC in 4 years. That's no way to do business, man. That's just no way to have a chance. That's crazy. 4 in 4 years? But I understand, Tom. Look, the one we let go a year ago just took the Jacksonville Jaguars to a 13-4 record.
That's an interesting game. That's a really good game on Sunday. They're the 1 o'clock.
Yeah. And we kind of first guessed that Liam, although goofy, if anybody had a chance to get something out of Trevor. And he did it. My favorite part was he did it with tough love. He was mean to Trevor, as he should have been. Screamed him down publicly, game in and game out to start the year.
Think he might ever be interested in climbing the college mountain?
I don't think once you're an NFL head coach nominated for Coach of the Year that you're too interested at this point.
Leon
County. Final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular as the words recalled the days gone by, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration and at the stroke of midnight join together in singing Auld Lang Syne.
Wishing you all the best in the new year and reminding you to be safe in all of your holiday gatherings and never drink and drive. From Sellers on Capitol Circle Northeast, call 656-8453 or online at sellerstile.com, and Truck and Car Concepts on Mahan Drive. Call 656-8800 or online at truckandcarconcepts.com.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Love to compete on the dartboard? Then it's time to head to the CP. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is Tallahassee's premier dart bar, featuring steel tip boards and soft tip internet play. The Corner Pocket hosts leagues and tournaments regularly. Just check out their social media to find a time that works for you. And in between games, grab a pint and a bite in the cool AC, or enjoy yourself outside on the deck. Whether you want to catch a game or start one of your own, the place to be is the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
WVFD Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas.
A 41-7 romp over the Tennessee Titans locks down the AFC South title with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have won 8 straight games and 9 of 10, heading into their wild card matchup Sunday at Everbank Stadium as they host the Buffalo Bills. The 13-4 Jaguars are the 1.5 underdog to the 12-5 Bills. Seattle Seahawks, the plus 350 favorite to win the Super Bowl heading into wild card weekend. Rams plus 425, the Broncos plus 650, Eagles and Patriots plus 950. The Jaguars and the Texans are both 13-1 to win the Super Bowl. Score $500 in rewards with the GBank First Bet VSiN Trifecta. Details at vsin.com/GBank. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Kohl's new clearance markdowns are intense. Up to 70% off is the kind of deal that'll leave you feeling stunned and make you whisper things like, "Where have you been my whole life?" to a cardigan. Just take a deep breath, steady your cart, and try to act normal. But it's not possible. The savings are just too good. Shop new clearance markdowns now, in-store and online at Kohl's. Select styles, some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
Amy Cox did something smart. She saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. And with that money, she decided to treat herself to an anti-aging red light mask. Will she look like a horror movie villain every night? Yes. Will her boyfriend Kevin be scarred for life? That's certainly a risk. But it's Amy's savings, and if she's willing to risk her relationship for smooth, wrinkle-free skin, well, bye-bye, Kevin. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Tired of calling 1-800 numbers just to get put on hold? Flush those numbers down the drain and call Terry West Plumbing and Septic Services, now offering Terry's Toilets, providing clean, reliable porta potties for any job site, special event, or backyard party. Real local people doing real work. No robots, no AI, no call centers. For all your septic services and portable restroom needs, one local call wipes away the competition. Call 850-510-8558. That's 510-8558. Or visit terrywestplumbing.com. When you call, we answer.
Welcome to Fen Chiropractic. What in the world happened to you?
Well, it was Thanksgiving, and it started out normal. We had deep-fried turkey, lukewarm beer, and a political debate that escalated into a deviled egg fight. Then Cousin Daryl said the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. And boom, there's folding chairs flying. Somebody tried to suplex Uncle Roy right through the buffet table.
Oh, my Lord.
Then Grandma pulled out her old wrestling belt and said, "Let's settle this in the yard." That's when Hank stepped in. Hanky Panky, my emotional support alligator. He tail whipped the potato salad in the neighbor's yard and stared down my brother-in-law to stop the yelling, and then he calmly slid into the hot tub like nothing happened.
So, how did you get hurt?
I got hurt when I tried to high-five Hank. I slipped on a gravy boat and I landed on the lawn gnome.
Family drama, holiday injuries, or gator-related back pain? Get adjusted at Fen Chiropractic. Visit fenchiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com.
Just like family, your chiropractor loves you and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachian Parkway.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
on into the week because it is a busy week. It is a week in which a lot of information, we'll see if any of it is good news for Florida State, will come out because the portal is open and roster building and roster degradation and roster changes are running amok across the country. Certainly that is also the case at Florida State. Now, I will tell you, John Garrett, who was named Deputy AD and General Manager of Player Personnel. Was that last week? I'm losing track of the days.
Yeah, that's correct. Last week.
Is joining right now Mike Norvell and AD Michael Alford for a press conference that was originally scheduled for noon. It got moved very early this morning to 3 o'clock, 3:15 maybe, I think it is. So when that gets started, if any nuggets are produced, we'll try to relay that information for you while you're listening at work, watching on the Warchant TV YouTube station, and or driving about town. We'll try to get that information to you. As far as what has happened today, the news has not been good. It began with Amari Williams entering his name into the portal, and then the much bigger story was that Florida State's twin defensive linemen, Mandrell and Daryl Desir, have planned to enter the transfer portal. Now, again, the transfer portal is interesting because it's changing. The way we view it changes. It's exhausting, I will say that, in that a lot of kids now, and we're seeing more and more of them enter the portal, I think, or at least make the announcement that they intend to enter the portal. This can be a negotiation, as Tom and I were discussing about this last hour. It could just be a negotiation ploy, leverage for more money. Could be that they're miserable and they can't wait to get the hell up out of here and they can't wait to leave and they've got other offers on the horizon and their agent said, put your name in the portal. I can get you paid $1 million. Go. You know, you don't know. When you hear the name announced, you don't know exactly what's what. One's much more devastating than the other. If it's just a negotiation ploy, fine, you got a shot. If it's this place is a sinking ship and I want out, well, then you're in trouble.
I think it is leverage negotiation primarily, but the problem is if you do enter your name into the portal, if it actually goes in,
somebody can.
Those phone calls start coming.
Yeah, they've already been coming.
Well, they already have,
Yeah,
but in earnest, because you could be promised a number in theory, but then once you get in the portal, the real number is there. There have been stories before this era post-house settlement.
Correct.
Of offers being made for kids to just enter the portal. We'll back channel you $50,000 just to enter your name in the portal.
It's a sabotaging thing that the rivals would do to one another. Yeah.
Right. But then once they get there, the numbers that they thought they were going to get through tampering didn't actually exist. So that's another layer. It is one giant headache, splitting headache, this era of college football. But Florida State is trying to sort through it as best they can.
Aspects of it are just flat stupid and really damaging to the sport. Other aspects of it are great and helpful to the student athlete. Trey Wisner has committed to Florida State. He's a transfer from Texas. He was a productive player at Texas. He is a running back. You might say to yourself, okay, I'm kind of curious. Fill me in. Well, he had a disappointing junior season at Texas, some would say, based on his production from the previous season. He did lead the team in rushing, 597 yards, 3 touchdowns, 131 carries in 2025. That was about half his production of what he had done the year before with the Longhorns, in which he rushed for 1,064 yards, 5 touchdowns on 226 carries, and 12 starts in 2024. He finishes a career at Texas that saw him rush for 1,734 yards. A guy who has been productive. 20 starts in Austin, Texas. That's a program that recruits elite athletes, has had all kinds of success, and you're getting a good player. We'll see what he is for Florida State. My question about it was, first and foremost, the biggest name that you've landed in the portal so far is that running back, and you don't need running back. You need offensive linemen, you need defensive linemen, and certainly people will scream from the mountaintops that you need a new quarterback. Got it. Agreed. So running back, not necessarily a position of need. You just spent a lot of money at running back for Cromall last year. You underutilized that running back. You've gone out and got another running back. Fine. Hope he's productive. Hope he plays really well. He's a speedster. He is a kid that can catch the ball. He's got a lot of talent. But again, what's he going to be running behind? And who's going to be distributing the football? Lots of people want to know. To that end, DJ Lagway on campus. DJ Lagway meeting with Florida State's officials, Florida State's people at the football-only facility. Went to lunch, came back. All those things are true. We've talked about it, documented it. I don't know what I think about that either. That's not true. I do know what I think about that. I wouldn't spend for DJ Lagway, who was oft injured and regressed mightily from the time that he came out of high school, where he was a dual-threat quarterback, rightfully sought after by so many, and one who showed off an NFL arm. Also a guy who got hurt, and a guy whose career quickly spiraled to the point where they were thinking about benching DJ Lagway last season. To DJ Lagway's defense or credit, I would say he did not have an off season due to the injury. Never got to really be a productive, practicer in the off season, developer of his body, all those things. So when the season began, he had a hard time and he got behind the 8 ball and it really spiraled in a negative way. I think for what he would cost, given Gus's system, I'm not real sure of the upside in spending that money on DJ Lagway. I wouldn't do it. They might. We'll see. Don't know if that's finalized by the end of the day or not. We'll see where it is. He's going to also visit some other schools.
Virginia being next, yes.
Yeah, so we'll see. Calandria, the quarterback from UNLV, formerly a Lakewood High School Spartan. Also a little guy, 5'11", 1 whatever he is, could run around more into Gus's system. Very productive at UNLV. Then again, he played last year for a coach who's really good at developing quarterbacks and really good at teaching the passing game, and much better than anybody we have, and that's Dan Mullen. So I don't know. He fits the system better. I'm still not paying more than $2-3 million for that guy either. No chance. I think Florida State's got to spread that money out a little bit more and bolster this roster to raise the floor. I would get it that a head coach who's up against it, probably fighting for his job in the same way we thought he should have been a year ago, might want to make a big splash, might not want to consider spreading that money out to build a roster for somebody else to coach when he's got to save his job this year, imagining that he thinks the best way to do that would be to get a big-name quarterback.
One that might be able to allow for the contagious thing to kick in and attract other names to come to campus and see what it's about. Because at that point, if you do get a quarterback like a Lagway, he immediately turns into your top recruiter. And he makes those phone calls just like the coaches make those phone calls. And the football community is pretty small too, with parents and you've got national teams, all-American teams, all these camps you've been to, the 7-on-7s. A lot of these players know each other, so you can send that particular quarterback to work for you right away. He just interviewed in like the last 10 minutes. Did Lagway? Matt Lasser texted me. It sounds like that visit to UVA is still on, but it sounds like the trip to Florida State went well in terms of the finer details that were shared back and forth. So we'll see where it goes, but a lot of stuff went down between 1:55 p.m. and 2:05 p.m. with the Desirs and the Wisner bit of news as well. In about 2 minutes' time is when the platitudes begin for the John Garrett hiring, and we'll get you some meat and potatoes from that as well. I'll keep an ear on that as we continue discussing.
Meanwhile, I'll segue over. Obviously documented last hour, Florida State's loss to Duke, one in which they were highly competitive, down just a couple points in the last minute of the game. You're seeing a little bit better effort and consistency on both ends of the floor over the last couple of games against teams that thoroughly outmatched Florida State. We'll see if that turns into anything. Meanwhile, the NFL is set. The playoffs are ready to begin. It ended last night in dramatic fashion with the Steelers and the Ravens coming down on the final day of the season to the final play of the season. And that play, a missed kick from a rookie kicker in Baltimore who hadn't missed from inside of 53. This was 44. He pushes it wide right, a phrase that makes everybody cringe. That 44-yard field goal does not go through the uprights, cinches the division for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And onward they go, and so does Aaron Rodgers' career, which many thought might end if the game ended in a loss last night. Every year, Tom, we typically see 5 new playoff teams on average over the last 20 years. This year, we have 6 out of the 14 combatants. According to my FSU math, that's 43%. This is why hope springs eternal in that league. your dismay of today could flip quite possibly, as in it's not absurd or not an absurd thought for a team that finishes out of it, I mean way out of it, to be sitting atop their division the next year. Just as one realizes that the perch you sit atop today may be what you're looking up at next season. I think that's true. Ask the Chiefs, who finished the year 6-11. 6-11. Heck, here's one for you. Only one team repeated as the division champion this year. One. Philadelphia.
All right.
That's it. That's all. Carolina wins the South. The Bucs won it last year. Detroit went 15-2 last year. Missed the playoffs this year, and the Bears won the North. The Rams won the West last year. This year it's Seattle. In the AFC, it was the aforementioned Chiefs. Today it's the Broncos who win that division. Buffalo owned the East for the last 5 years in the AFC. The Patriots are back on top this year. Pittsburgh hadn't won the division, Tom, since 2020. Did you know that?
Only because I stayed to the bitter end of that broadcast last night.
And, of course, Jacksonville. There you are, Jaguar fans. I didn't forget you. The Butts win the AFC South. The Texans had won it each of the last 2 years. Jacksonville is a prime example of the craziness of which I speak. 4-13 1 year ago. They're 13-4 this year. 1 out of 8 division champions repeated. That's it. Take it a step further, not just division winners. 6 new playoff teams, but hell, Bucks missed the playoffs. Kansas City missed the playoffs. Baltimore missed the playoffs. Detroit missed the playoffs. These aren't teams that just won their division and took a step back. They're teams that made the playoffs, won their division, in some case, robust fashion, and then straight up missed the playoffs the next year. Here's a stat that has nothing to do with any of that, but just intrigues me because it's never happened in the history of the NFL, and it might be something that would cause you to fire your coach. Are you aware that the New York Football Jets finished the season without a single interception to their name? Not one INT from the Jets, Jets. NFL history. First team ever to finish a full season without a single recorded interception. A dubious distinction, to say the least. Now, by the way, we all watch games. We watch high school and college and pro, and how many times, maybe once every weekend, you see an interception that is absolutely preposterous, as in a ball hits somebody's helmet, goes straight up in the air to a waiting in the waiting arms of a linebacker. Somebody's hit right on the hands, the way a certain tight end at Florida State was against SMU, and instead of catching it, decides to set it to the defensive back behind him. It happens all the time. Christian McCaffrey had it happen against Seattle. Right in his hands, shoo-ba-da-doo, right to Seattle. It happens all the time, but not one time to the New York Jets. Not one effing time.
So did you see that Sunday Night Football did him dirty at halftime last night, the Jets?
Wow.
It was a cutout and a silhouette of a player, and it said, name this quarterback, and it showed the stats. And it had 30 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating, completion percentage, 3,000, 4,000 yards.
The combined quarterbacks that face the Jets.
It's like they reveal it, and it's not a quarterback. It's Aaron Glenn. Like the answer is every quarterback who played the Jets this season. It's pretty awesome.
So Aaron Glenn, first-year Jets, historically bad defensive performance with opposing quarterbacks throwing 36 touchdowns to 0 interceptions is what Tom is referencing. That is crazy. I mean, would you not... Like, they did it to Pete Carroll, and I get that because they looked, as poor as you can look. But would you think about parting ways with Aaron Glenn? Year one? It happens these days. Used to be you got 5, you got 4, you got 3. The Jets, so went 3-14, lost their last 5 games. But here's your problem. They lost their last 5 games, and these were the scores: 35-8, 42-10, 29-6, and 48-20. Oh, and 34-10 to the Dolphins. Buddy, I don't know.
I've got an image for you of the presser very quickly. I just like your analysis of it. It's not a podium and you have one guy go up and speak and then another. It's a table and the three of the gentlemen are sitting next to each other. Alford in the middle, he read a prepared statement to start. But here's the body language. How would you read that body language? For the radio audience, Mike Norvell doesn't look thrilled. And that was his, and I'm going to be fair here. I want to be fair. That's not a screen grab from one moment out of 10 where he was smiling the rest of the time. I decided to take the screen grab because that's the way he was pretty much the entirety of the statement that was being read.
Listen, I said this earlier. I think it's got to be very difficult for Mike Norvell to sit in front of the assembled press at this stage of his time here at Florida State. Not because the press here is vicious. It's not. Imagine if you were in New York or something like that. But because he's largely been stripped of everything that you would ask a coach to earn at $10 million a year. I think to some degree, it's the look of a man who has lost his professional dignity. And it's got to be very difficult knowing that they're taking away responsibilities from you, as many of them as they can, on a, semi-annual basis. And you know that they know that we know. It's a toughie. That's the look of a man who knows that we know.
Yeah, I don't have the audio up. I'm just kind of watching in the background just to see if there's anything enlightening with body language so I can time it out and watch it after. And it's an interesting setup. It could be a cordial conversation. We'll break it down as time goes on, but it's not. I thought it would be Alford introduces his new hire. Mike Norvell remarks on the new hire. The new hire gets his time at the podium. This is what I stand for. Questions. Instead, it's the three men.
Yeah, we'll go back. We'll comment on it tomorrow. I don't know, buddy.
That was a choice on how to present it. Everything is a choice. I guess unified front is what they're going for there.
I suppose.
What's the symbology there?
I mentioned earlier that it's Black Monday in the NFL. A lot of firings. Carroll was gone, obviously. I mentioned also that Stefanski's gone. By the way, this is kind of interesting. Guy won Coach of the Year twice in 2020 and 2023. But he gets fired, and I understand why. 6 seasons there, things weren't getting better. But I would maintain that he was Deshaun Watson. Not in the Deshaun Watson whipped it out in the training room sort of way, although he did elsewhere, and has really underperformed and was frequently hurt. But because Deshaun played so poorly and that contract was what it was, Stefanski was dead in the water, and they still don't have a quarterback. So, sunk ship. The Bucs would do well to hire Stefanski. Just saying. 2-time NFL Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he was. If Baltimore was willing to part ways with Harbaugh, which was speculated on all the big shows yesterday, that's where I would go. Give me the Harbaugh.
I would too. But again, he guided the Browns to the playoffs twice in the last 6 years and won the Coach of the Year when he didn't have, a bum like Deshaun Watson costing him all this headache. Carroll got the kiss my ass on Main Street moment. Grand opening, grand closing is a great day if you're part of Pete Carroll's family. Pete will be dead inside of 15 years, so it won't really matter as much to him, but that family's never going to work again, nor will their family or their family. That's a 3-year, $45 million deal they had to part with. Man alive! Granddad gets fired and gets $45 million. I can't believe my good fortune of being the grandson of Pete Carroll. Shannon Young made a move. You guys know that, to the nation's largest mortgage company. It's with Cross Country Mortgage. That means better rates, better options, stronger support, faster response for you. He's in 7 different states: Florida, Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas, and the Carolinas. Some things change, some things do not. His tireless effort to ensure that you get the best loan options to buy your new home, well, that's not changing. He's unwavering in that commitment. Relentless and goal-oriented. Shannon's a good guy, really good guy. I vouch for him all the time on this show, and for good reason. Find out what so many others have, listeners of this show. LoansForKnowles.com. That's LoansForKnowles.com. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
I'm Michael Garrison, 3rd generation here at Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. It's a common misunderstanding that a metal roof is more expensive than a traditional shingle roof. At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we'll show you how affordable it really can be. A metal roof far exceeds the durability and lifespan of a shingle roof, saving you thousands of dollars over time. Not only do we have the technology to fabricate and produce the best materials, we have the most experienced contractors to install your roof as well. And we will match or beat any other price in tile. Find us online at metalroofingsales.net. You can trust the 3 generations of service under one roof.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Swain Pools and Spas is your pool and spa everything store. Swain sells them, Swain repairs them, Swain renovates them, Swain services them. Swain even has pool and spa supplies. And they'll test your water too. Nobody, and I mean nobody, knows more about pools and spas than Swain. Almost 40 years of quality, reliability, and service. Look for the big Swain sign on Tharp Street. Call them at 386-7113 or online at swainpools.com.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingsales.net.
Pay-per-view fights can ring up big bills, especially since in the Octagon, there is one every few weeks. That's why the 7th Hill Tap Room right downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill carries every single fight. Plus, unlike most pay-per-view bars, there's no cover charge. And drink specials, too, like $3 select domestic beers and more. And if you enjoy international soccer, 7th Hill opens early. $2 mimosas on Sundays, anyone? The 7th Hill Tap Room, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, just downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
After a storm, portable generators are a helpful, temporary solution until power can be restored. Remember, 20-20-20 to keep safe while using a generator. Keep your generator 20 feet away from your house. Wait 20 minutes for the generator to cool down before refueling. Purchase a $20 carbon monoxide detector to protect you and your family. For more tips on hurricane safety, check out the Hurricane Guide at floridadisaster.org/guide. This message is sponsored by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
All right, really quickly, just so you know, I think the thing to take away from the early portion of the press conference going on currently with Mike Norvell, Michael Alford, John Garrett, is that Corey Clark, our own Corey Clark, asked the direct question, who has final say on personnel, who has final say on player personnel. And Mr. Garrett, GM, said that it's Mike Norvell. It's less than ideal. And that's something that I talked about before, that you were bringing in a guy that was going to make considerably less money than the head coach, who's making $10 million a year. And I don't know too many coaches that were going to cede the authority as to really kind of running the program, player personnel, who you recruit, evaluation of talent, completely to somebody in a front office. The money would almost tell you that that isn't going to happen. Others pointed out that there are situations where people who make far less than somebody else actually have the authority over that person. I would say, yeah, kind of. That's not really true in big-time college football, but okay. I think, Tom, if we're going to foster that conversation, I would tell you that I don't know that John Garrett was going to say anything other than that, even if it weren't true. Even if he has final say.
Yeah, that's fair. He could have said collaborative effort, though, if he wanted to do it that way. Instead, it was in no uncertain terms. He points over to Mike Norvell, says, well, it's Coach Norvell. He has HC in his name. And so we're going to do everything we can to provide the information necessary to make the best decisions possible. The latter part's no problem. Got no problem with that. Informed decisions are good things.
Yeah.
But I will say, because Garrett said that, I had heard that some of the machinations this weekend in regards to numbers, approvals, and so forth, as it relates to transfer portal targets, in some cases look like Garrett got the number related to Mike. Mike made the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Well,
and this is in line that he said that makes me more comfortable with the hearsay that I got, that's in fact what happened, because he was willing to say that on the record. All right, I'll show the cards. That's what I heard, that this weekend, maybe with a quarterback and some other things, some other factors, agent, GM, go back and forth on a number. Let me see what Mike thinks about that. Was the energy that I was described that happened. That's it. John Garrett's telling you on the record that, yeah, Mike is still making the personnel decisions, at least for this cycle.
I would have guessed that it would have been very difficult for John Garrett to make those decisions on personnel this go around because of how late in the process he got here. I would think that this was a lost cause for this season. Now, that's not what anybody wanted to hear, but that was my guess to begin with. I mean, most of those agents had lined kids up to go and look at a lot of other places already, talked with teams about what that money was going to look like long before John Garrett got here. They were missing this very powerful and important window of time while they were going through their search because they didn't have a real plan, but they'll tell you they did. Anyhow, the point is, I think ultimately John Garrett's value, and we'll see what it is, and we'll evaluate that in and of itself as time goes on, really wasn't going to be seen in the immediate. It was going to be seen 2, 3, 4 years from now. And
it's totally fair to say that, and it's not rat trapping for Florida State on their behalf. It's totally fair to speculate that for portal season 2027, the dynamic could be very different. Not just because there's a different person in the room at head coach, but it could be different because of the lead up and everything that is done in November and December.
Way in advance.
Yeah, that's fair. But unfortunately, I was hoping for a different answer. I'll be honest. I was hoping to hear something a little bit different behind the scenes and both forward facing. But at least for the moment, at least for this cycle, yep, the buck stops with Mike still on personnel decisions. That's a huge takeaway from this press conference. Probably the most important thing you could take away from the press conference, even though I've only heard snippets of it. That's the question I wanted answered, and good job for asking it, Corey.
Yeah, well, and so if you had to try to figure out who you wanted to blame for this mess before, it's meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss. The same guy that we blamed at the end of this past year and the year before, you can blame again this upcoming year if it goes south. We also know who to praise if it goes well. So we'll see. chances that it goes well seem to be slimmer and slimmer, but a lot of days left in this portal. A lot of days left in the portal, buddy. Any number of huge names will be flocking to Florida State in the next 24 to 48 hours. We'll see.
Funny thing is they don't need to be huge names.
Of course they don't.
To evoke the results that we're all realistically hoping for. Not that we yearn for as Florida State fans, but we're realistically hoping for.
Well, there's an archetype of a player that I would like, and I want to know who's assessing those players and suggesting to Mike those players and what that vision looks like. I've talked a lot about the need to find really tough football players, and you can find that at every level of football. If you look at the situation at Indiana, this remarkable turnaround has not been born out of elite five-star players that they plucked from other rosters everywhere. It began and kickstarted the story of the ages in college football with a 60-something-year-old coach who brought in his James Madison players and got them to play a certain way and believe in certain things and won a bunch of games with an easier schedule. Parlayed that into what you saw this year. Yeah, he brought in what turned out to be a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who, again, was not considered to be that in the portal when he left Cal. We saw him lose to Florida State here. He was talented. He was tough. Tough being the operative word there. He made tough decisions, good decisions on a faulty team, so he recognized in him that's the kind of guy that can lead my team. He meets a certain standard of toughness and a willingness to sacrifice that I want in a leadership role. That seems to be the buttons that Cignetti has pushed across the board. He's got good players now because they won a lot of games the previous year. You kickstart and accelerate what you can do to sustain success if you win a lot of games. When you lose a bunch of games, it's harder and harder to see that happen because it takes a little time. Typically it does. Now, the problem is Mike didn't get and doesn't have an opportunity to get a new car smell the way Cignetti did. That time is long since passed. He's rebuilding for the second time. The losses have mounted. The slights to the reputation have mounted. The weight of the failures have been seen through the lens of all of these kids in this transfer portal over the last really 2 years. I don't know that you can overcome it. Maybe you can. But you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt if you're Mike right now, and so it's a little bit harder to do it. You throw in the suck tax,
which hits you every which way to Sunday.
It's tough, man. I think it's really tough. It's a different set of circumstances. You know, you look at a situation where, Ryland Kennedy is a player I mentioned earlier in the hour from Texas A&M. If you go look at his numbers, he's 6'4". Rivals listed him at 215 pounds. I think Texas A&M listed him at 235 pounds. It's kind of important. Which one is he? If he's 215, no thanks.
Well, either way, he's
undersized.
Diminutive, yeah.
He's undersized. There have been 240-plus pound defensive ends that could be productive. Now, they're usually just straight Russians. Speed. But he's undersized, and he hasn't been terribly productive. His numbers aren't going to wow you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the problem is with the Desir news today, it's just, where do you begin? Where do you begin to craft your front? Because they were anchors, cornerstones. Specifically, one of them was. But look, man, Darryl was fine for a true freshman.
Yeah.
The production's fine for a true. He's on a standard track.
Yeah.
Mandrell is on an advanced track. But both of them are going to be rotational players for you, with Mandrell being a top-end player for you. Okay, let's just say that, for argument's sake, be optimistic that you can get John Walker, even though he went to Ohio State after. His plan the entire time was Florida State, then Ohio State, then to consider. Let's say you get him. Okay.
Well, that's a big deal, yeah.
If you were to have him and the Desirs on your roster, then the rush end, who's a little bit tiny from a weight standpoint, no big deal. Okay, that's fine. You could use him at the jack linebacker. He could be just a third down specialist, whatever. There's a place for that. But the Desirs, it undercuts everything. Very frustrating.
I think I'm looking again, I mentioned it before. I just use him as an example. The John Henry Daly kid from Utah. Now, the former coach at Utah recruits a certain kind of guy, a tough guy, right? His teams played tough. They played very physical. I'm overpaying for a guy like that. 260 pounds at defensive end, a lot of tape. You've seen him play a lot of important football games. I'm overpaying for a guy like that. I'm overpaying for the offensive linemen that are in this portal that have played a lot of football in big-time leagues that have been productive. I'm overpaying for that.
In a sense, that's the way they went with Jenkins last year, but then he had the Achilles.
That is unfortunate. That is devastating. They have been, in addition to poor at evaluating, incredibly unlucky. I mean, the Jenkins kid seemed to fit the mold, and then he gets a huge injury, and you're like, okay. We can't have nice things.
It's amazing he came back, but
he was unproductive. He didn't do anything. I'm not giving Lagway $4 million or $3 million if I could spread that out on those two guys I just named. If I could go grab, I don't know, the kid that Texas Tech just grabbed the other day, Wendell Gregory, the defensive end from Oklahoma State. Who was productive. I'm grabbing, go find a list. There's two that I have pulled up in front of me because I've been trying to find the guys that I would go overpay for, and I immediately just eliminate and single file. Hey, offensive line, defensive line, the rest of you can go away. I'm just looking for you guys right now. And then I go down that list. I don't grab number 1 or 2 because we ain't getting them. I go down around 7 or 8 or 9, and I go, okay, is he gettable? Can we grab that guy? Is he a player? Go find the guy that started in the Big 10 or the SEC or even the Big 12 and was very productive, has the right measurements, is quick twitch, whatever he might be. Find out what he is. Is he a tough kid? Is he tough? Does the film tell you he's tough? Because we've lacked some of that. I want to know what the parameters are and who's deciding that, because Mike may say yes or no on a kid. But if Garrett is looking at it as this team's not tough, we need to be tough. All right, I got a guy for you, Mike. What do you think about this kid? And then he brings him into you, and he's from Boston College. Whatever.
Yeah, that's where there still can be value generated from that position in the immediate. If Mike has the ultimate say, you could still provide him a list of candidates to review that he would not have seen on his own.
Right. And maybe those list of candidates, no matter which ones he says yes to or no to, are all from the same pool of toughness.
Yeah.
They play a certain way.
All you need to do is catch the eye of the man making the decision. Things can happen. I think that's happened a few times over the last couple of years in the portal cycles. Like, oh, he's available? Yeah. Might want to kick the tires on him, coach.
Yeah, frustrating. T-Spark Enterprises, of course, for all your roofing needs. I bring it up a lot. North Florida, South Georgia, they've got you. Commercial or residential, 850-766-1340. If you're in, say, Tallahassee, Monticello, Havana, Quincy, Crawfordville, Wacoa, Madison, Thomasville, Bainbridge, Cairo, forget about it. They got you. TSparkConstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336, CCC 1331204.
Your local news now.
The Hay Road Police Department announced that they will host their first citizen firearm safety class. Skills like safe handling, legal responsibilities, and defensive use of a firearm will be covered in the class. It will take place on January 24th and will include firearm safety, laws regarding self-defense, and hands-on practical exercises at the firing range. Participants are expected to provide their own handgun, 50 rounds of ammunition, as well as eye and hearing protection. If interested in attending, contact Hayhara PD at 229-794-2440. Deputies asked residents to avoid 5th Avenue Southwest between 3rd and 4th Street Southwest on Saturday due to a barricaded individual related to a domestic violence situation. Deputies attempted to negotiate with the suspect, who eventually left the residence and said they were surrendering. The suspect then tried to run back into the residence as deputies approached, but deputies brought the suspect into custody using less lethal munitions. This is Rachel and A with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 66. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy with fog in spots tonight. Lows level off around 50. Mainly cloudy skies expected, with fog early tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 73. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 63.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASC trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Looking to upgrade your backyard, your business, or even your life? Then you've got to check out Southeast Portable Buildings right here in Tallahassee.
That's right. Southeast Portable Buildings has everything: sheds, cabins, carports, and now beautiful decks to go with them.
Imagine a brand new storage building and a deck out front. Perfect for that morning coffee or for your family gatherings.
Need something custom? No problem. They'll work with you to find exactly what fits your needs. Big or small, simple or stylish.
And with easy financing options, you can make your dream space happen sooner than you think.
Southeast Portable Buildings, where you're not just getting a building, you're getting a lifestyle upgrade. Give our friends a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400.
Southeast Portable Buildings.
Big buildings.
Big decks.
Big dreams.
Southeast Portable Buildings on West Tennessee Street, just north of Capitol Circle in Tallahassee.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on, Big River. Let's do it. Time to go above and beyond. And of course it is. All kinds of savings remain, all kinds of luxury at your convenience, your disposal. Here we go. Above and beyond VR.com. Cue it up.
Above and beyond. Above and beyond. Above and beyond.
Above
and beyond.
Bum, ba-da-da-da. 727-253-5995, the phone number. You didn't write that down. Just go to aboveandbeyondvr.com and go look at the beauty. Look at that Clearwater Beach cottage. Look at the Enchanted Inn suite waterfront. Look at the lap of luxury that was the gigantic, luxurious condo Tom and I stayed in. 3 floors. I didn't even have to see Tom.
That's right. It has an elevator in it, too, if I recall.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I'm looking right now at 2-night rates in February, which is season. That's not typically very cost-effective relative to other parts of the year.
Because you're in Buffalo and you say, I got to get out.
Exactly. But I'm looking at a 2-night stay for what some would consider to be an important weekend. I know you and your wife don't believe in the Valentine's Day as much.
No, Valentine's Day sucks, but other people love it.
But you would make it your anniversary weekend, I would imagine, right?
I could.
That's
yes.
what you would do.
Yeah,
you can get on the beach or steps from the beach for under $300 a night after you put in the 10% code.
Look at the little star. Scroll back up. All right. There it is.
You're right there.
You just take a left. Whoop-a-doo, I'm on the beach.
Yep. So a 2-night stay, apply the savings. There you go.
$612
all in price.
On the beach.
2 nights, romantic getaway.
Forget
there you go.
about it.
Also, if you're a snowbird, they still have a couple listings available for long-term stays in the Tampa St. Pete area. One of which is really cool because it's right near the causeway on McMullen Booth Road, which puts you in Tampa in a half an hour and on the beach in a half an hour. Very nice, centrally located Pinellas County near Safety Harbor, which is where I grew up.
All right. Where you want to go with this? Who is your above and beyond candidate this year? Who would you go with?
Well, for this week, I got to say, in watching the 4:00 window yesterday, Matt Stafford and the Rams, they got pushed. This is an unheralded one because it had seating on the line. Perhaps it might not have had seating on the line, but the Cardinals were pushing the Rams in the 4:00 window. And the Rams played their starters. The Rams went all in, and it was tight towards the end. The Cardinals took the lead in the third quarter, and then Stafford went to work, man. He was stuck on 130 yards and a touchdown after the first half, and then bam, 3 more touchdowns. If you're trying to find a team that is trending well entering the postseason, not a rust factor, it's that Rams offense against the Panthers in the 4:30 window on Saturday. They're humming right now, and they just got Higbee back, which really helps them offensively as well. That performance from Stafford in the last 20 minutes of that game was above and beyond. Very, very good.
Mine is 40-year-old Liam Cohen, who is going to have a shot at, will not win it, Coach of the Year in the National Football League, and I'll do it for you semi-locals. That's right. I've teased over the years about the irrelevance of the Jacksonville Jaguars, calling them the butts of all things, but the Bucks are 13-4 and riding high. Since giving a game away against the Houston Texans, really you could call it the inflection point of the season for both the Texans and the Jags. Till yesterday, neither one of them had lost the game since, or maybe, no, they still haven't. So pretty remarkable that the former offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2024 could engineer the 4-13 Jags to a 13-4 season, and now a team that had already invested heavily in their quarterback with a massive contract and were watching themselves sail off into the sunset, into irrelevance, now look to be a mainstay for the foreseeable future with a quarterback they suddenly believe in. So there it is. Liam Cohen would be my guy going above and beyond. The Jags have dominated and played really good football time and again. Now, other candidates, obviously, Mike McDonald with the Seattle Seahawks would deserve a good long look. I believe Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers with a litany of injuries. I mean, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Mikael Williams, Ricky Pearsall got shot, for Christ's sakes. I mean, on and on and on. And yet they found a way. Ayuk.
Here's a candidate from 5 days ago. Above and beyond, and what the hell were you thinking? Ohio State's defensive coordinator with the plan that they had for Miami, which was insanity.
In the first half especially.
Well, and they went back to it in the fourth quarter in winning time. But they had 3 down linemen. They've got that presentation with 5 up front. 2 guys are standing. It's getting owned. They're not bringing pressure at all on Beck. They look like Womack for Alabama against us in game 1, refusing to blitz. So it's pitch and catch. They don't make an adjustment until the second half where they go to 4 down and they start to get some better results. Into the throes of the fourth quarter, they revert back to what they are, which is timid, in between. And the next thing you know, when there's a couple of plays to be made, Beck breaks the pocket scrambles. One of them was a 3rd and 11 that he picks up with his legs deep in their own territory. You let him get confident. They didn't pressure him at all. I was hoping to see Georgia face Miami in the next round because they would blitz like crazy. Buddy, we got problems.
Give it up to Ole Miss, though. Chambliss is another guy that could have won the above and beyond player of the year. I mean, he was unspeakably good in that second half.
And that last throw is insane.
He made 6 throws that were all NFL throws. This was the Division II player of the year. I get back to this, man. He was an afterthought at Ole Miss.
Yeah. No, they lucked into him because of the injury.
But that's what my point is. Like, you don't have to be out here giving anybody $5 million. Know what you're looking at. We never do. This head coach never does. Never, as it pertains to a quarterback. Never.
Haven't fallen into one yet.
Well, you fell into Jordan Travis, who took a remarkable right turn from a career that was going nowhere.
You recruited over him.
Well, you didn't recruit him, and you fell into him, and he was offering to not play the position. I'll give you a little credit for, convincing him to continue to stick it out. That's what you get the credit for. Yeah, you brought in a one-legged kid to take his job. I don't know, man. It is so frustrating. By the way, Ben Johnson, another candidate that I could have gone with for Chicago Bears. That's remarkable.
I remember getting texts back in the day, 2 ways of text for 2 different players. One was Mackenzie Milton. So how's he looking? I said, well, Travis is the better quarterback day after day here. Mackenzie has a moment or two, but Jordan has been the better player. Huh? I'm telling you. And the second guy was Hakeem Williams. How's Hakeem Williams looking? Well, Vandravius Jacobs has been the better player. What? No, that can't be. Hakeem's the better player. I'm telling you guys.
He hasn't been.
We watch these things, and I'm telling you, Mackenzie's not the better player. Jordan has been more consistent. Same thing with Dre. Dre over Hakeem.
Could have gone with Myles Garrett who set the all-time sack record in a 17-game season.
Yeah, he had weeks to get that done. Everybody's happy. Strahan's happy in that situation too, I think.
Oh, yeah, because he's still the 16-game record holder, right? I would point out, by the way, that and I wish they would figure out another way of describing what this skill set is. It's been going on for a few years now, Tom, and forgive me, I can't get past it. I'd like somebody to introduce another way of describing this unique skill set. Can we please stop calling the elite defensive ends in the National Football League's most unique skill their get-off? I'm tired of it. They went on and on about his ridiculous get-off rate. We don't need to do that. 0.23 seconds, if you must know. That's how quickly he gets off. I have, again, thought, why don't we do this with something else, some other descriptor about the speed with which they come off the edge.
Gets out the gate.
Yeah. His first movement. Something other than that. But yeah, I heard it reminded me of the famed call that we have in the system about Crabtree. Yeah. The announcers yesterday, you can't believe the way this man gets off. I'm like, let's do something other than that. Over and over again. It's time. We're out. Say goodbye, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Oh, wait. I got 10 seconds. Who did it? No, Kev. Appreciate you. Falcons beating the 8. Yeah, exactly. What is rock bottom with the program, Ian? Hang in there. I'll get you all back in here this week. If I screwed you over, we'll get you back.
We will answer you tomorrow.
Yeah. Peace.
This is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage.